caught up to it. Just 2 weeks ago, he conquered the Eckerd 300. Those 18 years would now ensure his name lives on in racing legend. The Advanced Auto Parts Super Dirt Series champion has but one remaining challenge, Mr. Dirt. Brett Hearn has spent those same years at the next stop, Middletown. Nothing remains to be done in his racing resume, but that never stopped him. His fourth finish in the 300 has pushed him to an unfamiliar place in the race for Mr. Dirt. And just last week, yet another tangle with his nemesis, Danny Johnson, put him in peril. Hearn felt put upon. Danny viewed it another way.
Brett tried getting underneath me, and says that he just ran into that tire. I mean, it's just tough luck for him. But, you know, him and his crew acting like babies throwing rocks is just totally ridiculous. I mean, they need to grow up.
The stage is set for Middletown. Can Tremont seize his moment? Can Johnson's guile and raw talent carry him to victory? Can Hearn's resolve and will take advantage of the odds? Today, those passions play out in the Carquest Auto Parts 200. And it's live on Rush Hour.
For a century, they have come, driven by the adventure, thirsty with speed, hungry for victory. First, with family funds, now with corporate logos. Much has changed. Still, they come, ever into the unknown. Sometimes a stairway to heaven, sometimes a highway to hell. And still, they come. They are dirt treaders, America's racers, touching many hearts, sharing the adventure. Rush Hour on Dirt.
For the mighty Dirt Modifieds, the shadows are long, the end of the trail in sight. It's payoff time in Orange County for the Big Block Brigade and Mr. Dirt Points. Emotions are very high on and off the track. It's typical Eastern States passion. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Eric Thomas with Gary Montgomery. There's lots of emotion, lots of passion here this weekend, lots of stories to tell you about before we even unfurl the green flag. First order of business, Gary, we have to talk about the tremendously rich history of this event.
38 years and running strong. It's older than Dirt Motorsports. 10 years longer than the Syracuse 300. The list of winners is very, very impressive. Dirt Motorsports Hall of Famers, including Frankie Steiner and Will Cagle and Buzzy Rudeman and Altaz Nady, Gerald Chamberlain, and others that I'm probably forgetting. Other legends that have won this race, Ronnie Lux and Gary Ballou. And of today's hot dogs, many of them have won it. Horton and Hearn and Hoffman, Cozy, Urich, Decker last year. The Johnsons, Jack and Danny Allen has never won this race. That's something he'd like to correct here today. It pays a lot of money, $20,000. And, of course, Mr. Dirt Points. It's a race that every driver would like to have in his racing resume.
So we talk about points. I've never come into this weekend before, Gary, where the points for Mr. Dirt in Modifieds has been this tight. The top 6 performers, some of the best in dirt, all have a shot at winning this thing.
A mathematical chance. 2 weeks ago, Kenny Tremont won at Syracuse, put himself on top in the Mr. Dirt Points series at that occasion. We got 2 races today and next week to crown our champion. But they're all after him. Danny Johnson, who won the 358 Mr. Dirt Championship here yesterday, is just 38 points back. Billy Decker, who was the Mr. Dirt champion last year, is 3rd. Steve Payne, 100 points back, in 4th. Brett Hearn, a 4-time champion, is 5th. Timmy Fuller just 1 point back in 6th, and he's having his best year ever. Alan Johnson, a 2-time Mr. Dirt champion, 83 and 81, stands 7th. Doug Hoffman, the 1991 Mr. Dirt champion, is 8th. 5-time Mr. Dirt champion Jack Johnson is 9th. Pat Ward, Jimmy Horton, and Bobby Barron round out the top 12. They pay all 12. They'll do that on November 13th in Syracuse. $163,000. The winner gets $50 grand. It's very important.
A lot at stake in the points, and we talked about passion, we talked about emotion. And for the Tremont Racing family out of West Sand Lake, New York, 1999 has seen the best of times and the worst of times, but luckily this saga has a very happy ending. And with that emotional story, here's our own cowboy, Paul Small.
And that happy ending could come with the first ever Mr. Dirt Championship for Kenny Tremont in this number 115 machine. Kenny, this has been an incredible dream season for you.
It sure has. Things have gone well. Got 2 more shows yet, and we need a lot of good luck to finish the year off.
Now, in previous years, you've been the guy chasing down the big boys. They say in order to beat the man, you have to beat the man. Well, guess what? Coming into this race, Kenny, you are the man.
Well, right now, you know, that's for sure. But, you know, we need to have a real good day. Today's going to be a key day for us. And, you know, we need to finish up front. And if we don't do that, it's going to be awful tough going into Bridgeport next week.
You and your wife, Kathy, were involved in a 6-month stretch where you were attempting to adopt a child, a story which fortunately has a very happy ending. How did you manage to balance that family situation along with the racing career for this family operation?
Well, I mean, thankfully I have a good wife, and she more or less shouldered all the responsibility for that. And if it wasn't for her, I couldn't have done it. But I owe it basically all to her.
Oh, I'm sure Kathy Tremont will be very happy, as will their newborn adopted daughter if Kenny Tremont wins the Mr. Dirt title today. He can lock it up today with a good performance, guys.
That's Olivia Grace in the buggy there, and she's having a great
sweetie,
day.
a sweetie for sure. A very emotional year for Kenny Tremont. A number of years trying to win the Eckerd 300 at Syracuse. He's got a chance at also claiming the Mr. Dirt title. What a year it would be. 16 feature wins at Lebanon Valley. This team, this family has been virtually uncatchable. And again, genuinely one of the nicest families you'll ever run into in this sport, period.
Great people. There's some of his stats. 11-time champion at the Lebanon Valley Speedway, where he races every Saturday evening. This year, the Advanced Auto Parts Super Dirt Series champion, winner of the Eckerd 300. We talked about that. That came simultaneously a couple weeks ago at Syracuse. Great guy.
Kenny Tremont is a great guy and has a good chance to do some great things to finish out the year in Mr. Dirt points. You know, Gary, this race has a history of making career years for some of Dirt's best drivers. And with more on that story, we're going to go down to Cowboy Paul Small in just a second.
As a matter of fact, last year, Billy Decker put the exclamation point on his dream season, winning the CarQuest Auto Parts Eastern States 200 and capturing the Mr. Dirt title in the process. Billy, you know exactly what kind of emotions Kenny Tremont has to deal with today because you were in the same position he was just 1 year ago.
Well, right now, Kenny's just having a lot of fun. You know, he come off the biggest win of his career, and at least that's the way it was for us. It was thrilling just to be in a race after Syracuse last year. So this Eastern States 200 is a super event to begin with, you know, and everybody's emotions are pumped right now. We just want to get racing.
Now, Billy, you're coming into this race. You haven't had the performance you had in 1998, but you are not out of the running by any stretch of the imagination. You could still win the Mr. Dirt title.
Well, that's certainly our goal. You know, we just want to take care of today's race first and get this one knocked off. It'd be a timely win for this Bug Chaser team. We've been struggling a little bit the last couple of events, and still not 100% here yet. We're going out with a little different setup than we've had all week. If we find it, we'll be good, and if not, we'll be in trouble. But this Bug Chaser team's worked real hard. I can't thank Randy Rossman, car owner, enough. And these guys give us a ton of support. And everybody's worked their tails off, and hopefully it'll pay a few dividends today.
Last night, the Yankees won Game 1 of the World Series. For Billy Decker, today is like a Game 7. It all comes down to this show.
Winner last year. Can he do it again? We'll have to wait and see. Closer we are getting to the CarQuest Auto Parts Eastern States 200 at Orange County. After the break, more passion, more emotion involving two of Dirt Modified's thoroughbreds, Brett Hearn and Danny Johnson. A few weeks back at Fonda, Hearn and Johnson got together on the backstretch down by the river. The car got a little, well, up in the air, and Hearn got the worst of it. He blamed Johnson. Johnson says it was his own fault. Well, the Dirt Motorsports family recognizes the contributions of the local CarQuest Auto Parts stores, their customers, and all dirt racing fans. Thank you for your continued support. We're back with more on Rush Hour.
In 100 years, you learn a lot about your customers. You learn that trends come and go, but the act of caring never changes. You learn that virtually everyone will stop to look at a baby. That we should treat customers not how we'd like to be treated, but how we wish people would treat our mothers. And that the best part of our lives can't be put into words. Eckerd, for 100 years.
Right there with you.
Introducing the first Suzuki ATV, available in your choice of manual or automatic transmission. The Quad Runner 500, an all-new Quad Master 500. The choice is yours. Buy a selected Quad Runner and get a super winch for just $49.95 and great financing.
Are you one of the millions of American males who would like increased sexual energy? If you've been considering Viagra as a solution, consider something different. All-natural Enerx. Clinical studies show various ingredients of Enerx enhance sexual energy. increasing desire, performance, and satisfaction. Enter-X is all natural with no side effects. With Enter-X, you'll feel the increased energy within minutes and with no chemicals. We're so sure you and your mate will be completely satisfied. We'll offer you a 30-day, no questions asked, full refund. Enter-X stimulates sexual energy by expanding the blood vessels, causing increased blood flow to specific areas of the body. Unleash the power of Enter-X now.
Call 1-800-832-2491 in the next 10 minutes and find out how you can save 30% off the retail price. Take advantage of our special TV offer. Call 1-800-832-2491.
Excellent to have you with us. We're back at the Orange County Fair Speedway, Middletown, New York. CarQuest Auto Parts presents the Eastern States 200, a Hoosier Tire Sunoco Race Fuels event. Eric Thomas, Gary Montgomery, Cowboy Paul Small. The emotions running high here. The weather, well, it was a factor yesterday if you were with us for the 358 championship claimed by Danny Johnson. The clouds are around the periphery, but so far I just think we just wiped that whole threat of rain out of our minds, Gary.
Yeah, I think there's no problem of rain here today.
Now, the emotions we're going to talk about: Fonda, Danny Johnson, Brett Hearn. What a flip this is, Gary.
This is going to be spectacular. You saw it just a moment ago as we went out to a commercial break. But there they are battling for the #1 spot, and Hearn goes over, and he caught the tire on the inside of the track. That's what caused the flip. But the deal here, these guys, there's been bad blood between these two since Danny came down here to race at Orange County, which had been Brett's playground for years. Danny came to race with him, beat him a few times, and since then things have not been rosy for those two.
And then the emotion started to boil over here. These two competitors give no quarter, and a little slow pitch, fast pitch with the mud balls, rocks as Danny went by. And here we go again. And finally, the officials get in there. Down with this very emotional story from both sides of the argument. Let's go down trackside in Cowboy Paul Small.
Brett Hearn in the Budweiser #3. We've just seen the crash from last weekend. Give us your perspective.
Not much to say, really. I mean, the tape shows everything. I mean, I haven't seen the tape, actually. I shouldn't say that. But, you know, what's behind us now, right now, we're racing the track, we're racing the car. We want to get a good finish here and be smart about this race. I think that's our main thing right now.
How much damage was done to that car? Were you planning to run that car this weekend? If you had to change, what did you go with?
Yeah, that was our newest car, and had about 6 or 7 races on it. It's history. We'll build a new one over the winter, and you know, something we didn't plan on doing, but you know, that's the way it goes.
Some people looked at that footage and said it was deliberate action on Danny's part. What say you?
Danny's the only one that's debating that. It doesn't seem like anyone else is, really.
And how about you physically? That looked like it was quite a bell ringer.
Well, it was. I mean, I've taken a couple tough ones, including a roll down the backstretch at Daytona and one at the Chili Bowl and a midget, but it was up there pretty good. I got banged up a little bit. I was pretty sore on Monday and Tuesday, but you know, by yesterday, the day before yesterday, I was pretty good. I'm all right.
Yeah, Brett Hearn is okay, and in fighting trim for this afternoon's CarQuest Eastern States 200.
Gary, it's not the first time these two gladiators have locked horns. I mean, they raced here competitively on a weekly basis here in Orange County. They're two of the best drivers in dirt. They help put butts on boards right across this empire. If they can see an opening, they don't care. They're going to get there. This animosity goes way, way back, doesn't it?
It goes way back. They are professional racers, and they make a living doing this. They got to win races to make a lot of money, and so both are capable of winning, and they get in each other's way once in a while. And I would think that for the most part there's no deliberate damage on either driver's part ever, but occasionally it can happen.
Let's get back to the other side of the argument, Your Honor. Standing by with Cowboy Paul Small, Danny Johnson.
Danny, you seem to be in the center of a lot of things, especially the incident at Fonda last week. What's your perspective?
Well, you know, it's just an unfortunate accident that had to happen. It didn't have to happen, but it was just a racing incident, and you know, it's just the way it goes sometimes. It's unfortunate.
There's some people that say that maybe that was deliberate action. How's your response to that criticism?
No, it wasn't deliberate at all. Nobody told me he was trying to pass me on the radio. I mean, it was a move that I made all on my own. It was just simply a racing incident.
Now, focusing on today's race, you're not out of the hunt for the Mr. Dirt title. You could win today with a good performance over the next 2 races. You could be the first man in history to have Mr. Dirt 358 and Big Block in the same season.
I tell you, you know, I've always would like to try to do that, and kind of a goal we kind of set out for, but it's a tough goal, and if it happens, I mean, we're really going to be excited, and we're just going to have to wait and see how the cards fall, I guess.
I think you can judge by the look in Danny's eyes and the smile on his face. If he were to lock up both titles in the same year, it would be an incredible moment.
long as it stays inside that sportsmanship envelope, the fans are the winners. What a competition between these two guys. It's unbelievable entertainment, and there's lots more on the way for you. Stay with us. It's the CarQuest Auto Parts Eastern States 200 Modified Championship from Orange County Fair Speedway in Middletown, New York. And it's live on Rush Hour.
Rush Hour.
CarQuest 200.
Rush Hour on Dirt is brought to you in part by Advance Auto Parts. The best part is our people. By Suzuki Motorcycles and ATVs. And by Eckerd. It's right at Eckerd.
A-Plus Mini Market, your 24-hour ticket to convenience.
Congratulations to Jim Cook of Rochester, New York. He took the ride of his life, and so did 4 of his friends. They won the Dirt driving experience by registering at a participating A-Plus Mini Market.
Over 3,000 items. A-Plus Mini Market, 24-hour convenience. Your store, plus more.
Just released Dirt Sportswear 2000 free catalog. Tees, Y2K. Call 1-800-979-DIRT. Sweats, jackets, hats, Dirt Sportswear 2000 free catalog. Call 1-800-979-DIRT.
You want to talk smack? You got it.
Who do you think you're fooling with that garbage?
Asking the toughest questions to the biggest stars.
Jose, are you sure that you're ready to go to Cooperstown?
All over it. Did cycling save your life? Want to see a different side of sports talk? No problem.
I do try to do too much. That's the way I've always played.
Step inside Romy's world and get the last word. Weeknights at 6:30 and midnight only on Fox Sports Net.
Are you in or are you out?
Hi, I'm here with Kenny Anderson with another selfish step. You know, one of the outstanding attributes of a point guard is his ability to keep his head up without worrying about the ball being taken away from him when he dribbles.
That's true. That's the number one thing. Dribble with your head up. For all you young kids out there, you dribble with your head up so that you can see the defense and you can see the other 4 guys out there on the floor.
Watch Fox Sports Net New England and play like the pros.
Settling back in the tub of your truck, get wherever you are. Hope you're comfortable. There's lots of action coming your way. Back at the Orange County Fair Speedway, Middletown, New York. CarQuest Auto Parts presenting the Eastern States 200. You know, Gary, we've been talking about the passion and drama on and off the track on the front row for the CarQuest Auto Parts 200. Plenty more passion with that story. Once again, our own cowboy, Paul Small.
Mitch Gibbs starts on the outside of the front row, and Mitch, to quote the late Harry Carey from the Chicago Cubs, holy cow, you must be jacked to be where you are today.
Yeah, we're pretty happy with the outside pole here. We're going to be starting on the inside. The outside's really not the place to be on this racetrack. But I'd like to thank my car owners, Ernie and Carol and Chris back home, and our crew. Most of them are guys are back home, but I wish they were here.
Seeing this far up at the front of the field, you could very well be here at the end of the day if you get your cards right.
Yeah, we could be. You know, this is a guessing game. The sun's in and out. There's a lot of clouds, then the sun, clouds. So the track gets fast when the sun comes out, and it gets slow when the clouds come out. So it's anybody's guess, you know.
No real surprise that Mitch Gibbs doing well. He's a 15-year Dirt Modified veteran, but one of the young guns of Dirt Modified racing who has again done well here at the Orange County Fair Speedway is our pole sitter for today, Andy Bacchetti in the number 57 machine. And Andy, I know this has been a very emotional weekend for you to get to this point.
Yeah, well, my gram died, and basically whatever happens here, and I'll know she'll be with me, and basically we're just going to try to get out front here and run a good race, and I'm going to dedicate it to her.
You know, a lot of drivers have passion for different motivational reasons today. We've seen drivers motivated by championships, some drivers that may be motivated by anger and retribution. Andy Bacchetti has a completely different set of motivations for this weekend.
Stay with us. This is the CarQuest Auto Parts Eastern States 200 Modified Championship from Orange County Fair Speedway, Middletown, New York. And it's live on Rush Hour.
Rush Hour.
CarQuest 200.
more seconds of stress in the life of Kenny Bernstein. Kenny's well protected, but what about his engine?
This is a 6,000 horsepower engine. No way will we go down the quarter mile without Prolong in the crankcase. You need to do it too. Put it in your family car. It's the best.
And now Prolong's on the dirt circuit.
If this product works in the environment that we race in on the dirt circuit, it'll work great in your family car.
Please call 888-241-0779 for the store nearest you.
This dog can't tell the difference between a radiator hose and a bone. Other dogs, perhaps, but not this one. That's why at Advance Auto Parts, it's our job to carry over 1 million parts. So we'll always have the parts you need, just in case you run into this dog, or one like him.
Hello, I'm Louis Theroux, journalist, social commentator, UFO hunter.
Take a weekly trip to the American Fringe on Louis Theroux's Weird Weekends. Get to know Louis as he gets to know UFO hunters, infomercial makers, and professional wrestlers by becoming one. Louis Theroux's Weird Weekends. Real weird.
Take me!
An all-new episode every Friday night at 8 Eastern, 8:30 Pacific, only on Bravo.
Hey, motorsports fans, looking for a good time? It's right here on New England Dodge Dealers Drive Time. Drive Time's got what you want. Complete coverage of NASCAR, National Hot Rod Association, Superbikes, and more. 4 weekly rundowns and nail-biting races. Pull up to Drive Time for the fastest, high-powered night of motorsports action around. New England Dodge Dealers Drive Time, Wednesday night at 9:30, only on Fox Sports Net New England.
We're back with you at the Orange County Fair Speedway, Middletown, New York. CarQuest Auto Parts presents the Eastern States 200 Mr. Dirt Big Block Modified Championship. Eric Thomas, Gary Montgomery, Cowboy Paul Small. The weather, well, it's been a bit of a factor here this weekend, Gary, hasn't it? Well, we've been watching the radar, watching the clouds. We had a little bit yesterday. Temperature 55 degrees, and there's the weather forecast. The rain looks like it may stay away, and that's always a good thing. Race analysis, 200 laps, 125 miles. All cautions count. Total purse, it's pretty huge. Winner's share, 20 grand. And a mandatory stop, there it is after lap 50, and that's when all heck breaks loose on pit road.
It certainly does. Our track description, it's a 5/8 of a mile, basically flat track. The straightaways are 660 feet long. There you see the minimal amount of banking in the corners. A tough old racetrack, the hard clay here at the Orange County Fair Speedway.
And for a look at the track conditions, track side on top of that hard clay, and here's Cowboy Paul Small.
Gary, when you said hard clay, man, you were not kidding. This track is hard, it is slick, it will stay that way all afternoon. The question is, will the outside group come in or not? That depends on the sunlight. Right now the sunshine is out, but it's going to be ducking in and out of clouds all day. That will change the track conditions, and the drivers are going to have to play a guessing game in order to have the right setup at the right time for the weather conditions. Right next to me right now is one of the youngest members of the CarQuest Auto Parts family, Rich Pillai Jr., who will give us the famous words to start today's racing program. Rich?
Gentlemen, start your engines!
And to Dirt Motorsport fans everywhere, that's as good as any symphony. That rumble underneath our feet up here in the booth, in the stands, and you at home, you can imagine what it's like. These cars upwards of some 700 horsepower plus, some up near 800 horsepower. These are the fastest machines on dirt as far as horsepower goes. They're right up there with all these body panels on them. This is where the dirt track racing started in middle America. And what the old jalopies have evolved into are these massive horsepower rocket ships.
High-tech, high-dollar rocket ships.
Andy Bacchetti out of Sheffield, Massachusetts. First ever pole start in this race. Mitch Gibbs, North Norwich, New York. His best start in this race, Gary.
Second row on the inside will be the Hurricane Steve Bain, who had a difficult day here yesterday, blew an engine. Billy Decker, last year's champion, is alongside.
In row number 3, Doug Hoffman from Allentown, PA 87 200 winner. 27J Danny Johnson of Rochester, New York, a 3-time 200 winner.
David Camara had a tough time at Syracuse. He had a tough time at Fonda. He starts inside of the 4th row. Tommy Meyer, he's a regular here. He'll start in position number 8.
Tim Fuller of Edwards, New York, in row number 5, and the Bob Faust automobile. Butch Kittle out of Sealersburg, Pennsylvania, in a brand new Troyer 4-link.
The 6th row on the inside, we've got Brett Hearn, who is Mr. Orange County. He won the championship here in both divisions this year. Pat Ward's alongside in the John Fitch 56.
Row number 7, where you'll find West Sand Lake, New York, Skinny Tremont, the Mr. Dirt leader coming into this contest. And Littlefoot, as they call him, Tim McCready out of Watertown, New York.
Thunderfoot is what I call him. Okay, Jeff Hetzler in car 90. That's a different car for Jeff. He's on the inside of the 8th row. And jumping Jack Johnson in the Bobart 12B starts 16.
Row number 9, it's Jim Sorensen out of Newton, New Jersey. And A.J. Slideways, Alan Johnson out of Phelps, New York, who has never won this race.
Today could be the day. That's the Pillsbury car. Ronnie Johnson, he's Jack's son. He's in the Coors number 21, and Scott Flamer will actually be driving a car number 280 this afternoon.
Row number 11, number 88 is Frank Cozy, the veteran out of Wind Gap, Pennsylvania, a 2-time winner of this event. And Barefoot Bob McCready, there's the old man out of Watertown, New York, the 1994 winner.
12th row on the inside, we've got Dale Blank, great second-generation driver out of Homer, New York. He's in a Darwin Burton car today. And Neil Luce, he's a regular here. He's a 93. He'll start in position 24.
Impressive yesterday in the 358 contest, Chris Schultz out of Liberty, New York, and Tim Heinley out of Monticello in the Bill Regan small block automobile.
14th row on the inside, we've got Rich Rickey Jr. He's from New Paltz, New York, just up the road a piece. And Craig Jackson, who won a feature race here in Orange County this year in car number 96J.
Row 15, Richie Urich out of Johnson, New York, and Jimmy Horton out of Neshannock Station, New Jersey, a 2-time 200 winner.
Starting 31st in the field today will be Jerry Higbee. He's in the Smith Brothers Concrete Foundation car number 74, and Randy Sherlock in the Tri-State Roofing number 8.
Back to row 17, it's Tony Pepicelli out of Princetown, New York, and Frank Jasembowski out of Middletown.
Hollywood Frank Jasembowski. That won't all fit there. Row number 18, we've got Vic Coffey and Gary Edwards.
And Joe Winnie in row number 19 out of Kingston, New York. We had some preliminaries earlier today for some more qualifiers to fill the field. Bill Wilson outside of Joe Winnie in row number 19.
Moving back to row number 20, we've got Wade Hendrickson. He's a hotshot driver out of New Jersey in car number 5, the yellow car today. And Bobby Barron in the Council Herald 35 starts in position number 21.
Gary Tompkins in the 84 is back in row 21. On the outside, it's Chris Moore in the 673.
Row number 22, we've got Jake Schlegel, who made the race yesterday as well. That's a small block car and a former champion here. Kenny Brightville will start in position 44. I had the numbers wrong there before.
Our row number 23, sorry, Chuck McKee in the 19. And Frankie Schneider, the ageless veteran who won this race the very first time it was ever staged. You know how important the history is to dirt modified racing, and there he is.
Frankie Schneider is 72 years old. He won the very first one of these events, and he's out of Lambertville, New Jersey. He's raced everything all over the country, and that's him apparently in that black and white car number 11 today.
What were you doing back in the 60s? I know what I was doing. I was in school, and Frankie Schneider was the king of the hill, and he's out here this afternoon. That's a terrific addition to this field. Fans are on their feet, waving their hats, their programs, whatever kind of apparel they have. Andy Bacchetti, Mitch Gibbs on the front row. Me got a lot at stake here. We mentioned it, a lot of emotion, a lot of passion. Keep your eyes on Danny Johnson and Brett Hearn. Keep your eyes on the field. Here they come out of turn 4 at Orange County, and the Eastern States Auto Parts 200 is on the air on Rush Hour.
Well, they've shuffled through 1 and through 2 and now down the back straightaway. And we've got a surprise out front. He came from 3rd, grabbed the lead, and moving on the inside, the Hurricane Steve Payne, the 1999 Black Rock Speedway track champion and Super Dirt Series 358 champion. It is Payne out front. Gibbs rides 2. Gibbs was worried about starting on the outside. It wasn't a problem for him. He got down to the bottom in a hurry. He runs 2nd. Decker's up to 3. McKenny's going backwards in a hurry. He's 4, about to go to 5 as Janet Johnson works on the inside of him.
You just know that Steve Payne coming around turn number 4. There's a look at Andy McKenny, who's dropped back. Danny Johnson right behind him. Steve Payne, apparently, it seemed that he had the 358 Mr. Dirt Championship wrapped up with a 16th place finish or better, only to have the engine go away in his small block car in the closing stanzas of that race. Totally dejected. You know he wants to get out here and put on a show today because those emotions need to be turned around completely.
And we've talked about passion all day long and the emotion and so forth, and certainly Payne is on a roller coaster deal. He's had some great runs this year, but he had a disappointing DNF at Syracuse. And there we look at some action on the racetrack as Hearn and in the red-white Budweiser car and Jimmy McCready in the yellow and green or white and green car got together, and then that'll cost McCready some spots. Fremont got through that without any incident. He'll tag on to the rear bumper of Hearn now as they work through turns 3 and 4.
Brad Hearn had some terrible luck here yesterday. He got involved in a jingle early in the contest, ripped the back dirt bar off that car, then eventually it expired with mechanical problems in the engine room. Hearn, at the moment, running in 12th place. He won the Big Block Championship and the 358 Championship this year at Orange County. He is by far and away the winningest driver on this racetrack.
Well, he's lost one spot here in the early going. We're 5 laps into it. He started 11th. If he's in fact running 12, he's right behind Timmy Fuller. Fuller in the Bob and Michelle Faust, the car number M1, the black car that we saw Jimmy Horton in for so many years. That's a tough one to remember who was in fact driving that. Right in front of Fuller is Pat Ward in the red car number 56.
Early in the event, how's this track looking, Cowboy?
Looking a little rough for Kenny Brightbill, who just took a pretty hard shot in the left side for Bruce Sawyer, who's in trouble on the backstretch. You can't get on the outside right now at all, guys. You get out there, you might as well be throwing a 50-pound anchor out behind the race car. In fact, the yellow flag is out because the guys are mixing it up all on the bottom. Everybody's trying to stay where the fast lane is.
That's Gary Edwards in car number 21 that came out on the short end of that stick. Edwards starting back in position number 36. This is his second ever Eastern States 200. He was hoping for a good run here today, and if he has a good one, it'll come from the back. It'll be spectacular if he's able to fire it up and keep it going.
You've got 38 years of history behind you, all kinds of interesting permutations in regards to the history. The last couple of years, the Eckerd 300 winner at Syracuse has also won this event, the Eastern States 200. Danny Johnson in 97, Billy Decker in 98. It just goes to show you the theory is true, that if you win this race, you're more apt to win it again.
Well, one guy that probably won't win it again, well, I thought that was the case. We had the camera on Rich Urick's car number 10. He was moving very, very slowly, but apparently the car had simply popped out of gear. He's now rolling. He's a former winner here. Fremont would love to keep that tradition of winning at Syracuse and winning at Eastern States going, because he has the part of that equation taken care of with his win at Syracuse.
Steve Payne, the Hurricane out of Waterloo, New York. Mitch Gibbs, Billy Decker up there in the 91. And on pit road, yes, Kenny Brightbill, the veteran, the left rear damage from that tangle out of Pennsylvania.
Sinking Springs is what you were trying to think of.
I almost said something else. You knew what I was going to say.
Yes, I did. Sinking Springs, veteran driver, and he is a former winner here. He is able to fire it up and keep it on the racetrack after making that brief stop.
Let's get a report on Kenny Brightbill from Cowboy Paul Small.
And Gary, you nailed it right. That was a very brief pit stop. They just wanted to look at the left side of that car and make sure that the sheet metal was not cutting into the Hoosier Racing tire in the left rear corner. It's crinkled, it's bent, but it's not hitting the tire.
And that's the good news. The bad news is that he'll get the start from the back again. That's where he started the race. He was one of the drivers added to the field here today by virtue of 4 consolation races.
Hang on to your coffee tables, kids. Here we go again. The green is out. Back underway. Steve Payne will lead him into turn number 1. Mitch Gibbs, Decker in there in the 91. Andy McKinney in the 57, Gary.
Gibbs was able to move from the top to the bottom and hold on to that number 2 spot, but he's now in danger of losing it as they race off into turn number 3. Decker had a wheel going on the inside there, but was not able to make the pass. Further back, you see a terrific traffic jam. And again, they're all trying to get to the bottom, so if they got to run side by side, they just hope that they can stay about where they went into the corner and not lose some ground. And way up on top there is the 33 of Tommy Meyer. That's a red and white car. He leads the parade on the outside route. That's back at about position number 10 or 12.
Doug Hoffman is on the move and hiding behind the pictures. There's Pat Ward in the 56. But I'll tell you what, Doug Hoffman in the 1H is moving up to position number 5 now and is really charging that car, looking pretty quick right now, early in the going, Gary.
Early in the going. I guess that's the key word. 200 laps here on the hard clay. It's going to be a long afternoon. The mandatory pit stop we talked about earlier. There you see McKinney in the black 57 and Hoffman in the Cruise 1, number 1 car. There's Butch Tittle, a brand new Troyer car for Tittle this weekend. His boys are the crew chief on the car, and they're very happy with this new 4-link car that Billy Colton has put together for him out of Troyer Race Cars and Parts in Rochester.
The 4-link configuration with the bars underneath seems to get the car a little more forward bite. It's not a brand new innovation, but it's a 99 version of that physics involved in getting these cars to grab this clay. It gives it more forward bite into the turns, and so far has worked very, very well for that factory.
Yeah, it certainly has. A lot of wins have come here in the last half of the season in those 4 Troyer 4-link cars, and it's 4 torsion bars, 2 on each side. That's exactly what 4 links are all about.
Everybody behaving themselves. There's Alan Johnson in the Pillsbury #1. We talked about corporate logos and the change in the complexion of the way dirt looks going in to the new millennium. More and more of these corporate logos all the time. And you see fans with the little chef's hats in the stands out here. The configuration. Anytime you see that cute little doughboy in the side of the car, the kids love that thing. But this is one potent Bicknell 2000X chassis with Alan Johnson at the rudder. You can be sure.
You can be sure, and it's a pretty car. Jim Beachy is the owner, and he got together with the folks from Pillsbury, Bart Day, the marketing director for that fine operation, and they're very happy with their maiden voyage and racing that happened in Syracuse a couple of weeks ago.
Here's our leaderboard for you. Steve Payne, Mitch Gibbs, Billy Decker, Danny Johnson, and Andy Vecchetti, 1 through 5, very early in the going. The Eastern States weekend, the CarQuest Auto Parts 200 for the Mr. Dirt Championship. There's one more race to go. We'll do that on the 30th at Bridgeport, New Jersey. But man, oh man, you can lock it up here with a good show. 15 of 200. We mentioned early, it is early. Brilliant sunshine here at Orange County. Weather has been a factor, but not today.
Mitch Gibbs talked about it at the top of the show, and the sun coming in and out of the clouds is causing nightmares for these drivers as they set their cars up for either clouds or sun. Or maybe compromising, and depending on how it all plays out, that could be the difference for a win or a DNF or whatever here this afternoon.
Back in the field for some of your favorite drivers. Barefoot Bob McCready is currently 16th with 17 laps in the books. Doug Hoffman is 6th. Alan Johnson, there he is in the Pillsbury #1, is running in 12th place at the moment.
Alan has picked up 6 spots. He started back at the number 18 spot with a Pillsbury car, and so he's making some good forward progress. And McCready had picked up about 4 spots as well, as we are in the very, very early stages of the 38th annual running of the CarQuest Eastern States 200.
Every time I talk to you, Gary, you're the noted historian up here. I mean, there's just so much history with this event, and so many of those names that you talked about with 38 years worth of history, there's just so much to talk about, and it just seems to be holding well into the emotion of the last race of this millennium.
When you've been around as long as I have, then there's a lot of history that's tucked away someplace in your brain. And my wife always wonders why I can't remember anything important, but for this job, I guess that's important. Here's the battle for the number 11 spot. Fuller has it, and Alan Johnson wants it. Boy, does he want it, inside and outside. Fuller, the hired gun for Bob and Michelle Faust in the B&F General Machine car. Allen, the hired gun for Jim Beachy in the Pillsbury car. We've got a brand battle going on there as well. The M1 is an Olson car. The 1 is a Bicknell car. They're both powered by Kevin Enders built big block Chevrolet.
Alan Johnson reporting that Enders power plant very, very strong. Brett Hearn is the story down on pit road in Cowboy Paul Small.
Well, looking at Brett Hearn's #3 machine, I don't know if it's tire smoke or not, but there is smoke coming off the back of the Budweiser #3 car. Doesn't seem to be affecting Brett's performance at the moment, but we'll keep our eyes on that. That is definitely not the way Brett Hearn will want to start a CarQuest Eastern States 200. He didn't even get a full lap in before he went lap down in yesterday's 358 race because of a tangle. He doesn't want the second half of the weekend to turn out that way.
And bad luck at Syracuse, continuing on into this weekend. He had some bad luck yesterday in the 358 Small Block Championship event, and some smoke to keep our eyes on behind this #3 right now.
Yeah, if there is smoke, and I have not yet seen it, it would be, there's nothing rubbing. No bars are not bent, the sheet metal's not bent, so if there is smoke, it would be a engine problem or a driveline problem of some sort.
Nice to see Tim Fuller get that contract extension with the Faust family for next year, too. Here's a young man who's proficient in both big blocks and small blocks. There he is in the black #1. To get a good budget, some good machinery behind him, because I still think there's great things ahead for Tim Fuller, and the Faust family has given him that chance right through the 2000 campaign.
Here's our leader, Steve Payne, in traffic. Chuck McKee, the red and white car #19, about to go a lap down to leader Steve Payne, who is checked out here in the early going of this one. We're 23 laps in, and Steve Payne has got a couple lap cars now between himself and the second place runner of Mitch Gibbs. Gibbs has company in the form of Billy Decker, who is third and working right there. In fact, Decker just made the pass and has taken over the #2 spot. Danny Johnson alongside trying to make the pass for 3 as well, but that won't work. Again, Gibbs holds on to 3.
Gibbs drifted up high. Sorry, Gary. And Danny Johnson trying to take advantage of that. You got to get out of the way and get up high, but sometimes the grip just goes away completely up there.
And now Decker clears the lap car with McKee. McKee was added to the field here today by virtue of being a top 5 point stander at the track. That's a little deal they have. If you're a top 5 point stander, you do get in the race regardless of how you qualified or didn't qualify, and he did not qualify well. And there is the second place car now. 91, Decker closing in on Payne as the battle for the lead heats up.
More on the Brett Hearn story with Paul Small.
Checking in with Brett Hearn and the Budweiser crew, they have set that car up for a lot of chassis roll. That means the car is really transferring the weight over, and it physically rolls or yaws over to the right-hand side in the corners. What that's causing is that's causing the sheet metal to rub on the right rear tire. As long as that's not excessive and continuous, it shouldn't be a problem for Brett. But if the car continues to loosen up during the race and it keeps transferring more and more, that could potentially cut a right rear tire.
Keep our eyes on that. As soon as that sheet metal gets down into the tires, it usually spells curtains for these drivers. There's Hearn right there in the Budweiser number 3, the TO Pro car from the shop of his brother Bobby Hearn. And he's trying to become only the 3rd driver since '72 to win Orange County's Big 3 in the same season, the track title, Super Dirt Series race, and the Eastern States 200. Richie Urich in '88 and Buzzy Rudiman way back in '72. There's more of that storied Eastern States history we're talking about.
That's history, and I don't know where you came up with that, Sam, but that's great stuff. Buzzy Rudiman did it all. That's incredible. He's done a lot of great things. And there's the battle for the lead again. It is Payne and his 7X, the Advanced Lubricant Specialties Husqvarna sponsored automobile that Steve owns himself through his Payne Motorsports operation. Billy Decker riding in Randy Ross's number 91, sponsored by Adam Ross Cutstone and Bug Chaser, the insect repellent wristband that's come on board of one of the corporate sponsors that you're talking about. Husqvarna coming on board with Payne, so we got a couple of corporate sponsorship deals there, running in positions number 1 and 2. Back in 3, without corporate sponsorship, is Mitch Gibbs. He's got a lap car directly in front of him, and Danny Johnson all over the back of him, trying to make the pass for the number 3 spot. So Danny rides 4 with Bichetti in 5. 6 is Doug Hoffman. 7 is Butch Tittle. 8 is Dave Camara. 9 is Pat Ward. And rounding out the top 10 is Brett Hearn in car number 3. So Hearn has now picked up a spot. He started in 11th. He's up to number 10. And we got beautiful sunshine here at the moment.
Payne working his way around some of the back-marking automobiles. Kenny Brightbill, the 1980 200 winner, has just gone a lap down. We were watching him with some of that bent-up sheet metal earlier in this contest. Track getting polished again, but then what else is new here at the Orange County Fair Speedway? This is the hard clay, as they talked about. Get some rubber down on top of that. It does get a little shiny, and of course the sun beating down on that, it does tend to get a little bit on the warm side. But Steve Payne, who had that engine expire late in the going, if you were with us on Rush Hour yesterday, the Mr. Dirt 358 Small Block Championship was seemingly his, only to have the engine give up down in the closing pages of that event, handed the race and the championship. Well, in actual fact, Danny Johnson led it pretty much from the pole, but it handed the 1999 Mr. Dirt title for 358s over to Danny Johnson. So Steve Payne's on a mission today. He doesn't want to have that happen to him twice in one weekend.
He certainly doesn't. This is his 9th start of the Eastern States 200. His best finish was 2nd back in 1990. I'd like to do just one better today, and he's got somebody to help him coax him on. Decker, who's right back there working on him.
Billy Decker, who won this big block contest last year on Rush Hour, can he make it 2 in a row?
Randy Sherlock in the red car number 8 directly in front of our race leader, giving him a little bit of problem, but now Payne is cleared around the outside, and Decker will do the same. Not where they wanted to make the pass, but that's where they had to go. Joe Winnie's car 55 is directly in front of them. In fact, there's some side-by-side racing directly in front of our race leader, and it's Frankie Schneider, the 70. Look at that! Oh, they're telling me that's not correct. Okay. So we had the wrong car on Schneider earlier. So anyway, whoever it is, he's Payne's way.
One thing you may have noticed in comparison, and you often compare the small blocks, the 358s, to the modifieds. We'll get to that story in a second. Let's give you and reset our field for you. Steve Payne, your leader. Billy Decker, 2nd. Mitch Gibbs is 3rd. Danny Johnson is 4th. Andy Bichetti, after faltering early, is hanging inside the top 5.
Doug Hoffman runs 6. Butch Tittle had a great run here in the early going is 7. Dave Camara 8th. Pat Ward and Brett Hearn rounds out the top 10. That was Tony Pepicelli in the 11 car that I was talking about. That's there it is right there. That's the 2nd generation driver out of the Schenectady area. Tony Pepicelli, his dad Pep Pepicelli, a big dirt racer for a long, not a big guy, but a good racer, won a lot of races. This is the kid doing it here for the past several years.
Back to that comparison between the 358s and the big block modifieds, you sure do notice the difference in horsepower at this racetrack. Because the race yesterday, if you recall, if you were with us on Rush Hour, not a lot of passing around the outside. You're seeing a lot more of it now because there's more available grunt, as we call it, horsepower in these engines to get around somebody before you're into the turns. It's a much different race as far as passing around here on the outside. Some of it there, a little bit on the clumsy nature, but you are able to get around cars a little easier with added horsepower. Cowboy Paul Small, can you add to that?
Well, we've got a problem on the racetrack. The number 21 machine, the Gary Edwards car, has gone around again. This is going to clear the leaders out of lap traffic or the caution flying. We're not to lap 50 yet, so if we see any pit stops, they'll be of the unscheduled nature. What's happening, guys, is when they are in lap traffic, nobody wants to go to the outside. They're all running the extra hard compound Hoosier tires here. The only other time they run these is at Syracuse. It takes an excessive amount of green flag laps to build the heat up and to start to lay rubber down. That's why they're all staying on the bottom, even going so far as to come up behind the lap cars, give them a little bump in the corners to get them pushed out of the line so they can go underneath them.
Hey, we're just getting this baby up to operating temperature. Stay with us. Lots more to come. This is the CarQuest Auto Parts Eastern States 200 Modified Championship from the Orange County Fair Speedway in Middletown, New York. And it's live on Rush Hour.
Rush Hour.
Middletown, New York, coming down to the green flag restart. The CarQuest Auto Parts Eastern States 200 coming around. Well, a lot of jostling going around in the back here. Up front, looking for that green flag. Here we go. Yeah, Payne will stay in front of Decker on this restart. We thought we might have a pass. But man, oh man, is it getting jumbled back in the field, Gary Montgomery.
3 wide. That does not work generally. We've got a problem that gets away. They get away with it. That is Heinle in car 8 and Ronnie Johnson at 21. The two cars that went skating up towards the wall. Fortunately for those drivers, there was no serious damage to either car. Jack Johnson showing in the screen there with a white car number 12B. He took advantage of this caution period to make a pit stop. Now, it is not inside the window for the mandatory stop.
Right.
But running near the, well, he wasn't. He was in the middle of the pack. But they didn't do anything to the car, so they put some fuel in it. I mean, there was no mechanical change or anything. They fueled it up. They may be playing a game here that they're going to look for track position. When everybody else comes in under yellow after lap 50, they'll stay on the track maybe and have themselves in track position. That's all my theory. Of course,
it's a good theory, though. It really is, because it's been used before. It has been come up to that lap 50 pit window. More on the story with Cowboy Paul Small.
Jumping Jack Johnson along with Tony Pepicelli and a couple other cars did exactly as you said, Gary. They made pit stops before the pit window. Those will now count as mandatory stops. The other school of thought here might be if they've topped the tanks off, they run maybe another 15 laps or so before the pit window opens and they have an opportunity to come back in. If they come in for a gas and go pit stop, they're going to be able to get out quicker simply because they won't have to put as much gas in the car. That may be able to buy them some of that track position they're looking for.
Track position is what they're looking for, one way or the other.
Yes.
And they're all trying to get to the front right now. We've got Danny Johnson, who has taken over the number 3 spot. He's got by Gibbs on that restart, apparently, and that's where Danny is running. So we've got 7X of Payne, the 91 of Decker, then the lap car of Brightville, then the lap car of Sherwood, then Danny Johnson, who runs in 3. 4th place, Mitch Gibbs, and the Ernie Prize number 2 K car, and then McKinney holding on to 5 with the number 57.
Going by the drive-in amphitheater area here in Orange County. Your leaders, Steve Payne, and a problem with Tommy Myers, number 33. As we're getting closer to that lap 50 window, where all heck will break loose on pit road. You can stop before lap 50, but you must do it again somewhere after lap 50. That's the rule.
Tommy Meyer, best finish here in this race, was 4th back in 1995. He had no wins this year any place. His career win total in big block modified racing is just 2. He's an Orange County regular, and I think there was a soft, that tire, yes, the right front is flat. They're not flat, but it's going that way.
It's hard enough to get around here when they're full of air. When they're not full of air, it makes it almost impossible to steer. Steve Payne, man, I'll tell you what, engine in that machine is pretty stout. Looking for pit stops. Payne, Decker, Danny Johnson, Mitch Gibbs, Andy Bacchetti. Not a whole lot of change, Gary, in the first 50 laps in your top 5.
Here's your top 10 with Alan Johnson now breaking into the top 10. So we got the Johnson brothers both up there. Middle has run in the top 10 all day long. Herm has moved up to 8. And the scanner is on Steve Payne, so we're hearing conversation there. But they've got to complete lap 50 on the racetrack, is my understanding. And they're coming down to do that right now. The yellow flag is still out. So.
Tells the story right there. They get all the gas they can. 22 gallons in these cells. Because races have been won or lost running out of gas. 200, absolutely, on a 5/8 mile track. Fuel does become a factor.
Yes, and Steve just looked over and eyeballed his crew. They're close enough here that while he's on the racetrack, he's coming in this time. Now, he's going to be careful. He blew the clutch out of his car at Syracuse after making a stop while leading the race, late in the race. So the crew is staged and ready to go. And, of course, not just it's going to get really exciting. So Paul Small, find a safe haven to call the action here because they're all going to be coming at you, and it's going to be wild and woolly.
All the beefy guys on pit road got those 50, 60-pound gas dump cans up on shoulders, ready to go. And here comes the parade. Let's quickly down to the Payne pit and others, and Cowboy Paul Small.
And here comes your race leader, the Hurricane, hits the mark perfect. And he's nosed the car out as they told him on the scanner to make sure he can get out okay. Andy McKetty and Mitch Gibbs are going to pull in, and Gibbs may actually block Payne in because his back end is out. Decker is out very quickly, as is Danny Johnson. They will be the first 2 cars out of line. Steve Payne pulling around Andy McKetty. They're going to have a little drag race. Oh, and Payne gets stuck in the mud trying to get by Andy McKetty. He's powering his way through, almost hits the Jersey barrier down at the end of pit road. Alan Johnson, Mitch Gibbs, Doug Hoffman all coming through. There's a tangle up on pit road down here. Dave Kamara getting sideways in front of Tim McCready. Kenny Tremont trying to roll through. Man, he did not have a good stop. He is way, way down in the race order as the rest of the drivers come through. Tim Fuller's crew very concerned. A member of the MVF crew coming up to Bob Denny, one of the inspectors watching on pit road down here. Apparently there was a question about somebody blocking somebody in down on pit road. I tell you what, there's not some happy customers down here. One of them is Tommy Meyer in the number 33 car. They've got front end damage. He is still down here in the pits.
This is absolute chaos on pit road. Gary Montgomery in a V-fit for you. I think your heart's still banging.
Unbelievable. I talk about it being the most violent 20 seconds in all the motorsport. When they only put gas in, the stops are not that long. But, oh my goodness, it's simply too crowded. This racetrack wasn't built for pit stops.
You're right.
And Payne, you talk about horsepower. You talked about it earlier being different, small blocks and big blocks. I'm sure that Payne is glad that he's got about 800 horsepower in that one because he powered his way playing Farmall, a tractor, or John Deere, or whatever. And, oh my, there's a problem. They've fouled it up. They've got mud in the wheel, and that's going to be Payne's not going to win the race because of that little deal on pit road.
It's just like riding on top of square wheels. That they sometimes put foam plugs in these wheels to make sure the mud doesn't get up there. There was an old trick to collect mud to get on the scales to make weight, but the mud on this car, we're going to keep our eyes on it, Gary, because I agree with you. It's upset the balance of these tires. That's going to make it awfully tough. When he gets that thing up to speed, it's going to rattle the teeth out of his head.
Yeah, we listen to the radio here and see what's going on. Now, in Bridgeport, in our opening rush hour show,
yes,
Payne got mud in his tires, and he was weaving it to get him loose. And here's
Pat Ward has a catch gas can under the front of his number 56 and has stopped on the front straightaway. Sorry to interrupt you there, Gary. He's going to run over the neck of it again. Absolute chaos on pit road. It's amazing we didn't get anybody run over out there as far as human beings. We had cars damaged. We had Payne in the mud. We got damaged catch cans. We told you it was going to be all heck breaking loose on pit road, and it lived up to its billing.
Unbelievable. And again, Payne had the problem on pit road while leading at Syracuse. The clutch went out of the car there. Today he had a problem leaving the pits when he got up in the head, avoiding the McKetty car, and got up in the mud. And there's now mud in the wheel, and the balance of the thing is upset, and that's probably going to cost them the race. But it's a long day.
We'll keep our eyes on this. Steve Payne, before the pit stop, was first. He is now 10th. He loses 9 positions. And with mud in those wheels, they're looking a little wobbly here under the pace car speed. Of course, the big test will be once he gets it up into racing speed to see if those wheels are severely out of balance. And if he has to come back in and lose his track position, it's only 5/8 of a mile. That could be a tough, tough break. Second day in a row for Steve Payne out of Waterloo, New York.
Yeah. I'm not sure I finished the thought that I was trying to talk about. At Bridgeport, when Payne got mud in the wheel, he was just swerving the car back and forth, and that was a trick to get the mud out of.
More on pit road. Here's Cowboy.
Well, the Steve Payne crew kind of standing here going 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. They don't want to lose track position, and Steve has elected not to bring that car into pit road despite the amount of mud he's got hanging on that car, which obviously is going to upset the balance. Next to them is Billy Decker's pit. Billy's crew seems to be very happy with their pit stop. They got him out of the racetrack first of all the cars that came on pit road. It was a quick fuel stop, and they look pretty happy. I think they're satisfied they've got enough gas to go the distance here.
Billy Decker in the 91, Danny Johnson just in behind him. Jim Sorensen in the 53 will lead the race as Brightbill and his other front row occupant there as we're starting are actually on the tail end of the lead lap.
That's Chuck McKee, his outside runner there. But again, the very end of the lead lap, and they have to fall in there because the pace car picked up the leaders, and that's where you ended up. The green is out. We're back at it, lap number 56.
Let us have a look at Steve Payne's car. He's boxed in there about 10th or 11th place, 10th as we said on the chart. Trying to sort themselves out. Man, it is tight in there.
And
Hearn and Alan Johnson,
Excuse me, but Payne just got by Danny Johnson, and Alan Johnson is making a pass. Wow, my goodness. There's Alan on the inside. Danny's on the outside. Payne has gotten by him. So there may be a problem with the mud, but there's Danny back by him. So the outside, oh my goodness. There's just too much luck talk about here? Danny Johnson dancing with the devil up on top, and is it going to work? Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, it is tight up there. He's talking about getting hung out. There's just not a lot of grip up there. The tires have cooled off. Danny Johnson, he can make it work. Now he drops it down to the inside. Alan Johnson in the Pillsbury #1 right there with him. But it is tight packed back there. There's not a lot of room to maneuver.
Milt and Joyce Johnson stand by. I'm not sure if they're here or not. They're watching this thing back home in Middletown. Their boys are running bumper to bumper right now, both in the top 10. I don't know where we are exactly for position, but it's someplace in the top 10. Allen in the Pillsbury #1 trying to gun down brother Danny in the Sweeteners Plus #27J. The race leader, well, the leader is Craig Jackson right now.
Yep.
But of the leaders of the guys that have pitted is Decker. And Danny runs in second of that particular group of cars with Alan Johnson third. Again, that's not where they are running, but that's where they are relative to those that have made pit stops. But Craig Jackson out of Peckville, Pennsylvania, who won a feature race here this year, is our race leader with his car #96J.
Danny Johnson, just going out of your picture there, is now in 5th place. Billy Decker in the 91. He's trying to move up. Let's click it off. 60 of a total of 200, and it has been wild. It has been woolly. It has been crazy and almost schizophrenic out here, if you want to use the word the Cowboy used yesterday, because it has been crazy. The pit stops really shuffled the deck, and it was chaos down there. If you're just joining us, we're 60 laps in to the Eastern States Weekend CarQuest Auto Parts 200 Mr. Dirt Big Block Modified Championship. Second last event on the 99 Mr. Dirt Trail. They'll wrap it all up for the year at Bridgeport Speedway in New Jersey on the 30th of the month. But this is the big one. This is the one they all want to win. Healthy purse, what, 20 grand to the winner, guaranteed alone? Yeah,
that's right. Plus lap money. There's a $1,000 bonus from Budweiser at the halfway point, and a whole lot of prestige. And, again, it's egos right now that, for the most part, right now, they'd all run if the purse was canceled.
Yes.
Because they're racers. They just they're so competitive. And here we see Sorensen in the 53, Whitty in 55, and Scott Flammer, again, has taken over the Holland car. That is the battle for position #2 that we were watching. Flammer in the 53. Sorry, Flammer is in the 280. Sorensen's in 53. But again, those cars have not made a pit stop, and that's Whitty in car 55. Whitty had a top 5 finish here yesterday in the 358 race.
Flammer actually a lap down as Kevin Kovac checks the running order for us. Decker is 4th. Danny Johnson is 5th. That's your top 5 at the moment.
So this will be the battle for, I guess, the #2 spot then. Yeah, Whitty just takes over 2. Sorensen rides in 3. And it's Craig Jackson out front in car #96. And right there, well, we did not pick up the lead car in that ship. But again, those guys have not made stops.
And exactly, just my exact point I was going to make. This top 5 crew have not made pit stops. Danny Johnson was on pit road, came in, but as soon as he saw Decker took off, he almost towed the gas man along with him with the catch can when he got out in that confusion on pit road.
Confusion?
Whatever you want to call it. It was mayhem down there.
Too nice a word for it. I don't know what I could say on television, but anyway, it was awful.
So you could say it, but only once. That's the unfortunate part. Billy Decker in good shape right now with the Buck Chaser #91.
Scott Jeffrey, the crew chief for Billy Decker, ought to stand up and take a bow, because that was an absolutely awesome stop.
It was.
Scott would take the bow for the entire team, but they got him out in a hurry. I wonder if they put enough fuel in. They were so quick, but whatever. And he is running, I guess, 4th on the racetrack right now.
Billy Decker will keep our eyes on that situation, whether or not the fuel becomes a question later on.
Now, Winnie has caught Jackson. There's Jackson. His car showing some sheet metal damage from an earlier incident. That's the red and white #96. Winnie's in the black 55. Sorensen's in car 53. And Decker, of course, in the familiar purple and yellow Bug Chaser. #91, owned by Randy Ross, the businessman out of the Albany area. The Adam Ross Cut Stone people. They've been in business for 4 generations.
Long time.
And there's a pass for the lead as Joe Winnie takes his number 55 to the bottom of the racetrack and moves by Peckville, Pennsylvania driver Craig Jackson.
Winnie was impressive yesterday. Had a great run in the 358 small block CarQuest event here in the Eastern States. He finished 5th yesterday, so a great run for him. So he's carrying that emotion of yesterday through to today, and that car is looking very strong and tracking nice and flat as well. That's very important.
They're contending with the lap car of Chuck McKee, who runs directly in front of them. That's the red and white number 19. Further back in the pack, again, this is the battle for 3 shaping up here as Decker looks to the outside of Sorensen. Sorensen, a second-generation race car driver who started in position number 17 today.
Down on pit road with Cowboy Paul Small.
We checked in on the fuel situation for both Billy Decker and Danny Johnson, and both crews are claiming that they got enough gas in, despite slightly botched pit stops on Danny's part, to go the distance. Of course, it could be kind of like playing liar's poker with dollar bills. We'll have to see if their faces change during the course of the race. That'll show some concern. Guys, we've got a yellow.
We do have a yellow, and I got to wonder about Danny Johnson getting enough gas in there. Told Paul that they had enough in, but man, he didn't seem to be hooked up. He just about pulled the gas man down with the catch can still into the connector on the side of the race car. Kenny Tremont in the 115 has picked up heavy damage on the left rear. The yellow is out at Orange County.
And he's in the pits. There he is.
Kenny Tremont on pit road. And we'll get to that story momentarily. Stay with us. This is the CarQuest Auto Parts Eastern States 200 Modified Championship from Orange County Fair Speedway, Middletown, New York. And it's live on Rush Hour.
Rush Hour. CarQuest 200.
And hard hitting, where the people on your team can mean the difference between winning and losing. The Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce wants to be a part of your team, leading the fight for the healthy economy your business depends on.
Whether it's better schools, world-class institutions, or first-rate sports facilities for our Red Sox and Patriots, the Chamber is leading the way to make our region a better place to live and to work.
The Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce. It's where your business belongs.
He's gone! It's college football season, and we've got your Big 12 excitement right here.
See you later. Touchdown. We are back at the Orange County Fair Speedway, Middletown, New York, the CarQuest Auto Parts 200 Big Block Modified Championship. And the whole story is in the Tremont pit, and here's Cowboy Paul Small.
The problem here for Kenny Tremont centered around the damage that he took on the left rear corner. It bent up the hub. They literally had to take the hub, the portion of it that unbolts where the lug studs come through. They couldn't get the left rear tire on. The studs are bent. So they're having to put a whole new setup on and a whole new set of studs so they could try to put a left rear tire on and get Kenny back out into the race. The problem is this is very time consuming. They're using lug wrenches. They've even taken to using a sledgehammer here as the green flag comes back out on the racetrack. Kenny has gone down at least a couple of laps to the lead pace. This devastating consequences here for his Mr. Dirt title hopes.
Oh, the Mr. Dirt title hopes leaking out here pretty quick. What is he, 4 laps down, Gary?
I think 5 and 6, and now they're under green, so it's going to end up in a hurry here. So it's whatever it is, it's too many to ever overcome a deficit and have a good, strong run here today. So tough break for Kenny Tremont.
Decker, Danny Johnson up in the top 3 along with Alan Johnson as we get the restart. 77 laps in out of a total of 200. Tremont on top of Danny by 38 points in the Mr. Dirt title, but too long on pit road with a broken hub on the rear of the 115, and Tremont is in the pits. We're under green. It's looking pretty bleak for the Tremont family right now.
They continue to click off the laps. Joe Winnie is our race leader with Decker running second. Winnie has not made his stop yet. Decker has. Alan Johnson is third. And there is the car 673 of Chris Moore, the driver out of Massachusetts, Lansboro, Massachusetts, picking up the ride in the Pruitt 673. He slowed on the racetrack. And if that caution isn't, we do have caution on the speedway. This is a good break for Tremont. It'll save him going down another 10 or 12 laps.
Cowboy Paul Small, go ahead.
Well, they have finally gotten the left rear on Kenny Tremont's car. Let me see if I can grab Kenny Tremont Sr. down here on pit road. Kenny, what was the problem with that left rear corner? You couldn't get the tire on.
The brake caliper and the rear locator is all bent.
Well, the locator is still a little bit on the bent side. Kenny Tremont Sr. himself manned the lug wrench to get the tire on the car and get him back out onto the racetrack. He's lost several laps, guys, but you know every lap and every position counts when you're gunning for a Mr. Dirt title.
West Sand Lake, New York's Kenny Tremont. There's Kenny Sr. You can just see the frustration in the lines of his face, frustration in every line of his body, if you want. That's not the way they wanted this afternoon to work out. Race isn't over yet. Tremont's gone 4 laps down, and he looks like he still has a wounded automobile, Gary.
It's more than 4. It's, I think, maybe
more like 7
right now.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, we didn't see it, or I didn't see it, but obviously a crash on the racetrack, and the sheet metal is damaged. We can see that, and it did some damage to the
hub of the car, as they talked about it. He's back on pit road. He's going to make another stop here. So a tough day for the guy who led the point standings for the Mr. Dirt title coming in today's event. But as we said at the top of the show, and as Paul pointed out, every lap counts, and then there's another race that'll count as well next week at Bridgeport, New Jersey, just over the bridge over the river from Philadelphia. A lot of people don't know where it is, but it's a very, very small place, Bridgeport. The racetrack is mammoth. It's 5/8 of a mile. It's a big place.
It is a big place. We have 10 rush hours there, too.
Yeah, it's like a half hour out of Philadelphia. Not even a half hour out of Philadelphia. Very, very close.
All righty, so Tremont back on pit road as the green flag will fly yet again at Orange County Fair Speedway, the Eastern States Weekend. Happy to have you with us on Rush Hour. The CarQuest Auto Parts 281 of 200, and Billy Decker is looking in pretty good shape up front in the number 91.
He's looking in great shape. And there's Steve Payne. We talked earlier about Payne having a problem with his pit stop. We thought that would be a devastating problem. Well, he's overcome it, and he runs in, I think, position number 6. We'll set the field for you. Winnie in car 55 is leader. Decker in 91 is second. Alan Johnson in 1 is third. 4th is Danny Johnson. 5th is Steve Payne. 6 is Brett Hearn. 7 will be Andy Bacchetti. 8 is Mitch Gibbs. Rounding out, we got Timmy McCready in 9, and rounding out the top 10 will be Dave Camara in car number 26 as they scramble down the back straightaway. And there's a shot of Camara and Timmy McCready. Again, they're running in the top 10. There's Bob McCready on the outside. That would be, I think McCready getting around Camara would be for the number 10 spot. So Bob McCready, the master of going faster, around the outside of Camara, and there comes little Timmy Thunderfoot. So the McCready's father and son race side by side down the back straightaway.
Tim McCready has obviously inherited a lot of his dad's racing ability. A little on the Barefoot Bob McCready and Camara story. Here's Cowboy Paul Small once again.
Well, Barefoot Bob McCready is having an exemplary afternoon here at Eastern States Weekend. His car is working very well. However, for son Tim and Dave Camara, those two cars got together on pit road when they were trying to come out after their mandatory pit stop. There's some damage on the right side of Camara's car, on the left rear corner of the McCready car. Both those teams a little bit wary, keeping an extra close eye on those sections of the race cars. They're hoping that damage doesn't translate to problems later on in this race. Well, it doesn't appear to be a problem so far, and there's Timmy McCready going around the outside of Tommy Meyer. Meyer a lap or so down in the 33 and the 3rd car. There are the McCreadys going at it. Son leads his dad as they race down the back straightaway. Again, Bob, a former winner of this event.
1994.
You're very good. This is his 18th start in the event. Did you know that? Okay.
You told me.
Timmy McCready, his 3rd start. He finished 4th here in 97. So although he's a very young driver, 97 was his first year in the big blocks. He didn't even run big blocks full season. He had a 4th place finish here. So he knows his way around. You talked earlier about it being in the genes. He's been good.
Absolutely.
The first night I saw him.
He's been impressive, and that's the McCreadys out of Watertown, New York, putting on a clinic here for you for position number 10 on the racetrack. A lot of talent in that family, and Bob, too, is also passing on his incredible knowledge of really understanding the physics and science of building these cars and what to do with them to set them up, and Tim is learning an awful lot out of his dad, too. So the McCready name is going to be prominent in dirt racing for a long, long time.
You used the word building, and that is important.
Yes.
Nowadays, everybody buys their stuff from Troyer or from Olsen or from Teal or whatever.
Yep. Big
but, yeah, no, gotta get that Canadian.
Gotta get the Canadian.
But Bob McCready used to build these things. He knows the physics of how it's all supposed to work, and he transfers that knowledge onto Timmy when they bolt these parts together that they buy from these various suppliers. But everybody does a little something different, and they make different adjustments, and they set them up just a little differently. And that's the knowledge that you're talking about that the father has passed on to the son. And in this case, right now, maybe I was wishing he'd held something back because the son has moved around Meyer and has taken over the spot.
Tim Hindley, 8th, running a small block that he drove to 2nd place yesterday in the Eastern States Weekend, the Mr. Dirt 358 Championship that you saw in Rush Hour. So Tim Hindley has got to pedal a little harder, but he's doing a fabulous job to stay in the top 10. Back to the lead, Gary.
Speaking of fabulous jobs, the 55, the black car of Joe Winnie. Now, he has not yet made his pit stop, but nonetheless, he is running the race of his life. He's leading Decker and all the hot shots of Dirt Motorsports for their big block cars. I'm not sure if Winnie's got a big block or small block in it. The car looks identical to the one he raced yesterday with a small block in it. So I don't know, but whatever it is, it's working very, very well for him. Joe Winnie, nice young guy. And here is our top 10. We've got the top 5.
Joe Winnie, Billy Decker, Alan Johnson, Danny Johnson, his younger brother by 4 years in 4th place, and Steve Payne in 5th. 92 of 200 laps.
6 through 10, we've got Brett Hearn, Andy Bacchetti, who started on the pole, Mitch Gibbs, who started outside the front row, Tim Heinle doing the great job you were just talking about in the battle we were watching just a few moments ago with Timmy McCready running in the number 10 spot. And if he's 10, I guess that Father Bob is 11.
It is a small block, we're told, in the Winnie number 55. There's Allen in the Pillsbury number 1, Danny Johnson right behind him, Steve Payne, Brett Hearn as we're following on camera, and Andy Bacchetti, who was on the pole, dedicating the pole position to his grandmother, who passed away on Thursday of this week. It's a very, very emotional Eastern States weekend this time. 38th annual. There's always good stories to tell, Gary.
Story that we should build on now that we've established the fact that Winnie is in a small block car. The racetrack is slick. You've talked about that. Paul's talked about that. So horsepower is not necessarily what you need here. You need to make the whole system work. Now, Steve Payne needed horsepower to get out of the mud. But that was another story. But right now, keeping it smooth, keeping the tires on it, Joe Winnie has the better advantage with a small block car. You cannot horse them like you can the big block.
Exactly.
I love the analogy that Bob McCready gave us during the Rush Hour live show at Syracuse a couple of weeks ago, comparing the big blocks to the small blocks.
Right.
When you punch on the accelerator of a small block, it's like stepping on a wet noodle was his expression. It just doesn't respond. The big block will rock your socks off, right you right back in the seat. And but again, you don't need all that here on this slick racetrack. Keeping it smooth, keeping it steady is what it's all about. And Joe Winnie's doing the best of anybody right now as he leads the race.
Momentum is the key on big tracks like this 5/8 mile facility with a small block. You've got to keep it up into the high RPM range of the power curve. Otherwise, the engine will lay down and die and soul your power and your maneuverability. You've got to keep the RPMs up to keep the momentum up to get 358 engines to work on large tracks like we have here at Orange County. And so far, Winnie, you had an excellent season at the Cord Speedway, winning several 358 races this season on a quarter-mile racetrack, is doing a fine job here in Orange County.
So Winnie continues to lead. We're on lap number, we've completed 97, working lap number 98. There's $1,000 that comes from Budweiser. That would be a great payday. That's as much as he made for winning feature races at Accord, I suspect, during the year. Sure. But he's got a ways to go, and he's got Decker after him. And speaking of, here comes Alan Johnson. He's tired of running around the bottom, and he's going to go to the top, and he'll take over the number 2 spot. So the Pillsbury Doughboy car comes to the number 2 position and tries to run down and around Joe Winnie. We're working lap number 99 now, and Winnie's got a lap car to contend with. That'll be Flammer again in car number 280. So Winnie will clear around the outside. Alan Johnson comes around the outside. Decker rides in 3 with Danny Johnson tight behind. 99 laps complete, 1 to go for the $1,000 bonus, and Alan Johnson showed me something there. That car will work on the outside for sure, and he got by Decker to take over the number 2 position.
What's he been doing? The scanners on Alan, been sandbagging or something? They threw an extra rat in the wheel because that thing just took off. It is a 2000X Bicknell chassis out of Pete Bicknell's shop in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. The Pillsbury car, very, very popular graphics. We are exactly halfway home. The flag stand, the fans in the stands with their own flags up front, letting us know that we're halfway through this sprint. So $1,000 for exactly, Gary, $1,000 for Joe Winnie and that Budweiser bonus that you talked about.
The bonus that he got was he just avoided a bullet on the back straightaway as Chris Moore's car number 673 has a flat left rear tire. He car bobbled directly in front of the leader, Winnie. But Winnie avoided him. The yellow flag is out, and boy, $1,000 or no $1,000. The fact that he got away from the Moore car, no contact, he continues to lead. We're under yellow, lap number 101.
You take your eyes off the surface of this track for 2 seconds, and you're in big trouble because we've got tires exploding all over the place out here, and Winnie just about, we just talked about banking that $1,000 bonus. He just avoided problems there and will grab it as we are under yellow here at Orange County. Stay with us. This is the CarQuest Auto Parts Eastern States 200 Modified Championship from Orange County Fair Speedway, Middletown, New York. And it's all live on Rush Hour.
Rush Hour. CarQuest 200.
Hour on Dirt provided by United Rentals. They're one of the largest suppliers of aerial lifts in the country. They extend every effort to get your job done. United Rentals. Transportation for Rush Hour on Dirt is provided by Cedar Ridge RV Center, Branchville, New Jersey. They're longtime supporters of dirt racing. Many thanks to Cedar Ridge RV Center for their dedication to dirt motorsports. Cedar Ridge RV. Welcome. Welcome back. The green flag is just unfurled, and we're going to turn it loose again. Eric Thomas, Gary Montgomery, Cowboy Paul Small on pit road, 105 at 200. This is the CarQuest Auto Parts Eastern States Weekend 200 Mr. Dirt Big Block Modified Championship. It's a mouthful, but it's huge entertainment, and what a show we've had so far this weekend, Gary.
We've got a show going on right now. Joe Winnie, who was leading when we went to the commercial break, taking advantage of that caution period to make his mandatory stop. So he's disappeared from the screen. He's fallen in at the rear of the pack. But A.J. Sladeways, Alan Johnson is the leader. We've got caution on the speedway once again. We're on lap number 106 with Alan Johnson leading. Billy Decker runs in second. Third is Danny Johnson. 4 is Steve Payne. 5 is Brett Hearns. 6 is Andy McKetty. 7 is Mitch Gibbs. 8 is Craig Jackson. 9 is Timmy McCready. And rounding out the top 10 is Hindley. And there we see the cars that have made the stops. And there's Winnie, who had that great run going.
What a shame.
Flammer in the 280. Urich in car number 10. And there's a car that doesn't show there. That's a 74. That's Rich Ricky Jr.
Underneath the nose of Urich's 10. Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, Jerry Higby's in the Smith Brothers car number 74, so he's the other car involved in that altercation. Now, these were cars that were running in the lead for the most part. Now, Flammer probably wasn't with the 280, but the others were running in the lead lap. They just made their stops, and they've now lost a lap or so, and Joe Winnie's storybook day will not have a happy ending here.
We have had heartbreak by the bushel this weekend at Eastern States. We had Steve Payne on his way to winning the Mr. Dirt 358 championship, had his engine go away. Danny Johnson in command of the race will win that championship. And now we've got Joe Winnie doing a fabulous job. He gets into problems. Kenny Tremont is on pit road as we're talking. He's got problems with the left rear hub. It got damaged in a bump out there earlier on. He's in line leading Danny Johnson by only 38 points in the Mr. Dirt tally for the Big Block Modified. So a lot of hopes, a lot of dreams. There's that passion, there's that emotion again, Gary, coming to the fore here with bent race cars and hurt feelings and a lot of dejected drivers. Down on pit road with a parade of cars coming in. Cowboy Paul Small.
Yeah, what they're doing is they're actually running the cars down through pit road right now so they can get around the incident in turns 3 and 4. Alan Johnson, the race leader, we just checked in with Randy Kazaki and the Beachy Motorsports group for the Pillsbury Doughboy team. There was some concern maybe that Alan was overheating. The car was running a little warm under caution, but he's got a great advantage being out in front. He's got plenty of clean air in front of him, so when they get back to racing, the car should cool down and maintain temperature. We'll have to keep our eyes on that, though, if he gets into lap traffic later in the race. As for Brett Herndon, the Budweiser number 3, documenting his story, he says the car's a little loose right now, but he's not uncomfortable with it. He's thinking the racetrack is probably going to come to his race car, and he can go forward in the second half of this CarQuest 200.
Trying to get cars untangled down there.
Cars are tangled, and the racetrack is blocked, and that's Winnie is limping.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. It's evident there. He got bumped in there, and you will get jostled around quite severely in these automobiles.
Urich in car 10, the car that's now on the record. He won this race back in 1988. This was his 21st start in the Eastern States 200, and it comes up with a DNF and something he wasn't looking for. There's Winnie. Again, he's disappointed. He was limping a little bit, but he is apparently generally okay, and he had a great day and lots of airtime.
He's not picking up anything to throw either. That's a good sign, too.
Decker behind Al, Danny, Payne, then Hearn, the top 5.
As we look at Alan Johnson, the Pillsbury number 1, there's lots more to come. Don't you dare go anywhere. Stay with us. This is the CarQuest Auto Parts Eastern States 200 Modified Championship. We're at Orange County Fair Speedway in Middletown, New York. It's all live on Rush Hour.
Rush Hour. CarQuest 200.
This man has been trying to tighten the same nut for 2 hours and 46 minutes. If this goes on much longer, he's liable to explode, taking a whole city block with him. At Advance Auto Parts, it's our job to make his job easier. With the right parts, the right tools, and the right advice, it'd be done by now. And the world would be a little safer for all of us.
Introducing the first Suzuki ATV, available in your choice of manual or automatic transmission. The Quad Runner 500, an all-new Quad Master 500. The choice is yours. Buy a selected Quad Runner and get a super winch for just $49.95 and great financing.
Mr. Robinson, there's going to be trouble in your neighborhood. Morning, you're in for a long night. Mailman, we're going postal on you. Shaq, get ready for the attack. We don't care who you are. We have no fear. Okay, we have some fear.
Here we go. Let's go to work. That's Dirty Bird football right there. Let's get the game, man. Play, you can play as long as me.
Not only do we give you everything you need to know for NFL Sunday, but nowhere will you find more detailed scientific formulas for picking winners than on Pro Football Week.
The Dirt Motorsports family recognizes the contributions of the local CarQuest Auto Parts stores, their customers, and all dirt racing fans. Thank you for your continued support. The official supplier of apparel for the Rush Hour on Dirt Crew, provided by Bob Hilbert Sportswear. Check them out on the web, bobhilbert.com, or give them a call, 610-367-6186. We're in our cream-colored shirts this afternoon. You look good in that color, Mr. Montgomery. I want to tell you, pretty dapper.
Yeah, whatever. The white flag has just been displayed for the second time. I think they mean it this time. We're ready to go racing next time around with Alan Johnson, our race leader. Billy Decker runs second. Danny Johnson is third. Steve Payne is fourth. Brett Hearn is five. Andy Bacchetti is six. 7 is Mitch Gibbs. 8 is Tim McCready. 9 is Craig Jackson. And rounding out the top 10 is Tim Heinle, car number 8.
If the race were to end now, for all the mathematicians out there, the Mr. Dirt points, Danny Johnson would win it by 6 over Decker, Tremont by 12, Payne 67 down. So that's if the race ended right now. The lead points. In actual fact, as we're back underway, the pace car has come off. We've got problems with Kenny Breakville involved in a 3-car problem. And the yellow is going to come out again. That's going to be up in turn number 3 as we're watching here. And Brightville has got some major damage, Gary.
He does. The dirt bar has been torn off of his car or whatever. There's so many dirt bars laying behind Kenny's car. Flat right front tire on the Tabloid Graphics International Masonry Institute car. The other car, one of the other cars involved was the number 35, the Console Hero car. Bobby Barron at the keyboard of that one. And another car that just doesn't quite show on the screen is Jeff Hetzler in car number 90. Butch Tittle is in car number Z-car, and we're going to have a replay of this thing. And there...
Butch Tittle was a dead duck out there.
Ooh, yeah. Ooh, there's Randy Sherlock in car number 8 up on the top, and Barron spins his car, and there's Scott Flammer for the umpteenth time this year, or today, I should say. He's involved in some sort of a deal. And who was it that just went driving through there with I think it was Hoffman, the Cruise 1 car. Doug Hoffman got through, and there's a look at the Tittle's brand new Troyer 4-link car. It's been bent, and it's wounded, and it won't roll, I guess, because he's had plenty of time to fire it up and pull away.
He's dead in the water out there. The yellow is out again here at Orange County.
Sherlock was able to pull away. No apparent damage to the Tri-State roofing car, and he'll fall in at the rear of the pack. But Tittle's car continues to sit with nobody moving toward it. This was Butch's 9th start in the Eastern States 200. His best finish was 10th back in 1993.
114 of 200 are complete down to pit road in Cowboy Paul Small.
Boy, talk about being 2 times lucky. Doug Hoffman can certainly speak to that. They were just getting ready to go back to Greenwood. Doug discovered that he had a flat left front tire on the Cruise 1 number 1. The crew was able to get out and get him back on the racetrack without losing a lap. Then he was able to get through that wreck, so Hoffman is in good shape. Apparently, Alan Johnson's car, the only time it's overheating, guys, is under the caution flag. When he's under green, the temperature is coming back down to speed. And to update Steve Payne's situation, Steve's crew says the car seems to be pretty good. It's rough here and there in spots because of the extra weight it's carrying, but it really hasn't affected Payne's performance. He's happy with the way things are going, despite that little incident in the pits, drag racing Andy Bacchetti out. I would say
that mud, yeah.
And boy, when we saw that shot directly after the incident, that right front wheel was just hopping and bouncing all over the place. But it got loose. The mud came loose somehow or other.
Luckily enough, yeah. So Steve Payne is in much better shape than we thought he might be with all that mud collected off the problems that we had. He had to get up into the mud over in the berm there to get around cars on the pit stops, but did not throw the front wheels as far out of balance as we thought it might. So Steve Payne is rolling here and rolling smoothly.
Race leader Alan Johnson, actually, although he's never won this race, we talked about that at the top of the show, his record here during the 90s is outstanding. He was 4th last year, 2nd in 97, 5th in 96. Then he did not finish in the top 5 for the 3 years. And then back in 92, he was 5th. In 91, he was 5th. So he is one of 3 drivers that has 5 top 5 finishes here in the 90s. And the other drivers that join him are his brother Danny and Brett Hearn. You might imagine all that. Those guys generally finish up front.
Exactly, and you always get used to them being there. The Steve Payne story and all that mud. Let's have a look at this again. Wind it back on the machine and give you an idea of what happened. Here's what we're talking about. It was like a log jam in Midtown Manhattan. Here's Payne puffing through the mud and the muck down there, and it didn't look good at this point, did it?
It certainly didn't. We thought he was going to get dragged right out into the little moat that they've got that separates the racetrack from the pit road, but he was able to avoid it somehow or other, and that's when there was all the mud that had been collected in the car.
Well, luckily enough, it appeared to be wet enough that once he got the wheels spinning, it just splayed the mud out of the wheel dish, and it didn't throw anything out of balance because it didn't look good there. Currently 4th. He started 3rd. And again, if you're just joining us, he had that Mr. Dirt 358 championship pretty much secured until the engine decided to let go. Danny Johnson dominated the race, and by virtue of that, and Steve Payne having those engine problems, Danny Johnson comes into this event as the 99 358 small block champion.
Not all was lost, however. Payne did earn earlier this year. He earned the Super Dirt Series, the Advanced Automatic Super Dirt Series championship for the 358 Modifieds, and he won the championship at Black Rock. So he's had a good year. He would have liked to have finished it off in spectacular fashion. A guy who's had a reasonable year but has had a miserable day here is Kenny Brightbill. He qualified for the race in a consolation earlier today. He was involved in this crash that you just saw that put us under yellow here currently. His car is being cradled off the speedway. It's bent both front and rear.
So Kenny Brightbill's had himself a nasty afternoon. More information from Pit Road and Paul Small.
Checking in with the guys in 2nd and 3rd, Billy Decker and Danny Johnson. Billy Decker's crew is checking their watches saying, well, we hope Billy doesn't wait too much longer, but we think we've got something for him. Danny Johnson's crew is reporting that their car is a little bit off. Danny's not entirely happy with it right now. He says they're holding their own, but they're hoping that, again, in Brett Hearn's case, with the car being a little loose, that the racetrack is going to come to them before this one's all said and done. Well, if there's anything that they've got left, I wouldn't be watching my watch. I'd be watching the lap counter. But at any rate, white flag is displayed. The field will go racing next time around. That will be lap number 119 of 200. There's a look at that Pillsbury Doughboy car.
Accommodations for rush hour on Dirt's Eastern States Weekend provided by our friends at Howard Johnson's of Middletown. Howard Johnson's is the official hotel of the Orange County Fair Speedway. Call them 1-800-446-4656. Bridgeport Garden State Classic. Here's where it all winds up for the big blocks. Last race of the century, and a special announcement for the final Mr. Dirt Modified event at Bridgeport. Overnight parking for RVs, campers, and trucks will be permitted. Get down there early. Everything will be A-OK. It's A-OK for the green flag, and we're back underway. The CarQuest Auto Parts Eastern States Weekend 200 Mr. Dirt Championship for the big block modifieds. 119 of 200 have been completed.
And there's no change up front as we've got the number 1 of Alan Johnson leading the field.
Let's see if we can't reset the field here for you. Alan Johnson is your leader. He's never won this race. Perhaps this is the weekend he does it. Billy Decker, Danny Johnson, Steve Payne, and Brett Hearn 1 through 5, Gary.
Never count out Hearn. Here we go, 6 through 10. Andy McKinney, Mitch Gibbs, Timmy McCready, Tim Heinley, and Bob McCready has finally broken into the top 10.
And Jack Johnson, Gary Tompkins, Dave Camara, Frank Cozy, Dale Plank, 11 through 15.
Some names that we haven't been talking about all day in that group of cars. 121 now in the record books, and there's a shot of Tommy Meyer, and there's Bob McCready making a move on the inside of Craig Jackson in car number 96. Meyer in the red white 33, Jackson in the red and white 96, and McCready in the orange and white number 9, the Drug Store's car, and Bobby Barron in the Council Herald number 35 is slowed, and he is going to the pits, and his race day is over. He was involved in that crash just a few minutes ago. Smoke now coming from the car, and Bobby has pulled it behind pit wall. His day is over. So Clint Harrell, the car owner, Council Herald Trucking, the sponsor, and Bobby Barron, the hired gun out of Sharon Springs, will have a DNF here in the 38th annual running of the CarQuest Eastern States 200.
So the heavy hitters are up front here. Alan Johnson, Billy Decker, Danny Johnson, Steve Payne. The guys that we talked about at the front of the show expect to be up near the front are at the front of the field right now. They're chasing down A.J. Slideways, Alan Johnson, one of the winningest drivers in dirt history. You add up his totals in big blocks and small blocks. It is amazing to think that Alan has been this competitive since he entered this form of the sport back in the 1970s. There's been a couple of soft years, but Gary, in reality, since he started, he has been annually competitive.
He was another one that was good right from the get-go. And again, he had it in his genes. His dad was a racer, so and he'd race motorcycles and snowmobiles and so forth before he got in Tom Ewing's car for his first race at Canandaigua Speedway back when he was 16 years old. And he didn't win any that year, but he was good right from the get-go. His career win total in big block competition only 273. He's won just 2 times this year because he did most of his racing in 358 category.
And he jumped from a variety of automobiles. A track condition is due. Let's get that from Cowboy Paul Small.
Well, we started and ran the first half of this CarQuest 200 in bright sunshine, guys. And the same thing happened today that happened yesterday. The sun's gone behind the clouds. The air temperatures dropped 10 or 12 degrees. That means the track's going to get tighter. That means they won't be laying rubber down on that second lane up on the outside. Everybody's really now going to be sticking down to the bottom. That may be a tremendous advantage for your race leader, Alan Johnson, in the Pillsbury car number 1, because it looks like right now Billy Decker and Danny Johnson don't have anything for the race leader. I would agree with that, because Alan has pulled away here under this. Gone back to green. Now, nobody's contending with any lap traffic, so it's all up to man and machine. And clearly, the man, A.J. Slideways, and the machine, the Jim Beachy Pillsbury Doughboy, number 1, is working very, very, very well. Decker rides into about 8 or 10 car lengths back, and an equal distance back in 3rd is Danny Johnson. And then maybe 5 or 6 back, running 4th is Steve Payne. They're all running all by themselves, and now running 5 is the Budweiser 3 of Hearn, as he just puts another lap on the Randy Sherlock car. But out front, the blue and white, Jim Beachy Motorsports, Pillsbury Doughboy sponsored automobile. Beachy operates a chain of power equipment stores. Has stores both in upstate New York, around the Syracuse and Utica areas, and also a store down in Lake Norman, North Carolina.
He's at the keyboard of a Bicknell 2000X chassis. Pete Bicknell electing not to arrive here this weekend for a chance at the 358 Mr. Dirt Championship, but his hardware is here, and right now is the one leading this parade at Orange County. 70 laps to go in the CarQuest Auto Parts 200. The Mr. Dirt Chase, 1999, the final time at Eastern States Weekend for this century. One more race to go, but my oh my, if you're leading coming out of this one, you're in pretty good shape for the Bridgeport finale, aren't you?
Yeah, this certainly helps, and it's going to help Alan Johnson's career if he can. We talked at the top of the show how he needed to win this one, put it in his resume, and he is now the leader and the dominant car. There's a
Dave Camara.
Tough break for Camara.
Unbelievable. Yeah, no horseshoes here again for Dave Camara. In car number 26, he's going to slow. The yellow comes out again with our leader, Alan Johnson, looking strong. And he was on the lead lap, too, which adds would rub salt in the wounds.
It's too bad. He was involved in a crash at Syracuse and had a DNF at Fonda last week. So for 2 weeks in a row, he's had bad races, and he was hoping to turn that luck around here today. But unfortunately, it won't happen for the nice guy out of Poultney, Vermont.
Here's a look at your leader, Alan Johnson. Pillsbury Doughboy, number 1. Kids are really latched onto the graphics on this car. They just think this is great.
Yeah, the Doughboy thing really took off very, very well after they debuted it in Syracuse a couple of weeks ago.
Hearing Alan on the scanner talking to his crew.
Yeah, they all went by the lap car that was between you.
They're complaining about, or not complaining,
the lap car,
talking about the lap car not staying where it was behind Alan and between Alan and Decker.
Yeah, we're talking about the popularity of the Pillsbury Doughboy. The Johnson trailer totally ran out of t-shirts down there, so the kids are really latched onto this thing, and that's exactly what Pillsbury's looking for. The exposure, certainly on rush hour on TV, and popularity in the stands, especially with the kids. The Doughboy's a hit, it really is.
Bart Day, the Senior Vice President of Marketing for Pillsbury brands. They have a number of brands, and Doughboy is just one of them. And Baskins and Robbins ice cream, I think it was, and a number of folks involved. Jolly Green Giant vegetables yeah. Part of the deal for the Pillsbury brands. And Bart Day came out from Minneapolis, Minnesota. for a press conference that they debuted all this at Syracuse just before Super Dirt Week. So this is what they're looking for, TV exposure, and they're getting it right now.
It's what moves the sport into the new millennium, is to get as much exposure as you can for the corporate partners, and you're going to get more and more. Down on pit row, report from Cowboy Paul Small.
We're down here with Randy Kazaki, crew chief for race leader Alan Johnson. Any concern with that water temperature?
Well, we don't know if it's the gauge acting up or what. The car sort of had a weird heating problem, but it seems to be running fine right now, and the temperature goes down on the green, and the Pillsbury team's doing good right now. We just hope to hang in there.
Randy Kazaki maintaining optimism for race leader Alan Johnson. Randy's been around this game for a long time. He understands what's happening with the race car, and the question on this heating situation right now, but he didn't seem to be terribly worried.
Well, I'm going to get nailed for this, but it's a poppin' fresh afternoon for Alan Johnson, I'll tell you. Oh, no.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, they're slashing my tires right now, I'm telling you that much. Alan Johnson is your leader, 135 of 200. We'll be okay. Alan Johnson in command here, the Eastern States weekend. Coming down to the last couple of pages here. Still got a lot of racing left to go. This is for at least the points championship, the lead in the points championship. One event to go. CarQuest Auto Parts 200. Eric Thomas, Gary Montgomery, Cowboy Paul Small. Thrilled you're with us on a Sunday afternoon live on Rush Hour.
There are some drivers that we've not talked about all day. Gary Tompkins in the yellow and black Pennzoil number 84. Got in the race today by finishing in the top 2 positions in one of the consolation events that we ran here this morning. There's Gary in the Bill Trout Honeywell Auto Parts Pennzoil car going extremely high. There's Fuller in the black number M1. Cozy in the CarQuest Auto Parts number 80. I don't think we talked about Frank all day.
Big Coffee getting in there too.
Won this race a couple of times. There's Matt Ward and say Coffee in the red and white sweetener plus How Sweet It Is number 32. Pepicelli in the 11. That's Tony Pepicelli. Tremont on the outside, but again, he's down many laps at this point, so he's just trying to get as many laps in as he can and try to salvage something out of this. We talked at the top of the show how Alan had never won this race.
Yes.
He's also one of the 6 drivers that's not one of the 6 drivers that has a mathematical chance. He's 7th in the standings. We got slow. That's Timmy McCready, car number 94. That's slowed on the racetrack and is going to put us under yellow one more time. Lap 139. And Thunderfoot's Day comes up with a problem. He's got a flat left rear tire on the Drex Subs Express number 94.
He was in the top 10, and we watched a nice battle between him and his dad, Barefoot Bob McCready, for the 10th and 11th position. But Tim McCready has had a left rear sneaker go down, and that's going to slow his progress. We're yellow once again here in Orange County. Fix up the finish off the story you were talking about.
I forget what story was I talking about. There's so many stories.
There are so many stories.
Whatever.
We'll get back to that in the course.
So disappointed about Tim McCready here. Huh?
Yeah. Alan Johnson, the leader.
Well, as we look at McCready's car here in the picture, he's had contact with somebody's contacted the left rear. The Nerf bar and the sheet metal are damaged, and that's probably what punctured the tire. Tough break for Thunderfoot.
Tim won his first ever 200 last month at Rolling Wheels. He's only 25 years of age. And I know there's been a lot of national and international press bemoaning the fact there doesn't appear to be any young talent coming up to replace what are known as the graybeards in the sport, and that certainly is no reflection of age. It's people like the McCreadys and the Johnsons coming up, Frankie Caprara, Tim McCready, folks like that. Chris Schultz, we had him yesterday on Rush Hour.
McKetty today.
Andy McKetty today. Exactly. That is where the new talent is coming from. Pit road side once again in Cowboy Paul Small.
Guys, Tim McCready's problem may have resulted in the contact that he had on pit road trying to come out from his pit stop. Remember, he took a shot in the left rear. Had that not happened, maybe the contact on the racetrack wouldn't have flattened the tire. And Brett Hearn's crew, their faces are a little bit longer than they were earlier this afternoon. Remember, early on in the broadcast, we had some smoke coming off the back of Hearn's car with the body rubbing up against the tire. Well, apparently it's rubbing a little more than they'd like, and they're keeping their eyes real close on the right rear corner of that Budweiser number 3 machine. We're keeping our eyes on the Timmy McCready crew. That not only is Timmy a young gun, but his crew is all young as well, and they're having some problems. Had a problem getting the car up in the air and then getting it farther enough over on the jack to make repairs at whatever they were trying to fix other than the tire on the left side. But he's going to make it out, and he will remain. I think he did not lose a lap. So
he did maybe lose a lap on pit road as Kevin Kovac is motioning to us here. No, he's okay. He stays on the lead lap. Well, that's good news. That is good for Tim McCready. We're in danger of going down a lap. As they run right now, Danny Johnson has the lead, and not by much. It looks like 5 on the monitor here. We're having some technical problems with the picture tearing. Decker and Tremont, 6 points. Thank you, Kevin. So we'd have a 6-point lead right now on Billy Decker. Kenny Tremont, coming into this race, if you're just joining us, had some problems early with the hub in the rear end of the car getting bent. He went down about 6 or 7 laps. He's not a factor at this point. So that is the way the arithmetic washes out right now, with 1 race to go at Bridgeport on the 30th of this month. It's going to come right down to when the last bird is hung. We set up an incredible Mr. Dirt finish. You are absolutely right. We're green. You can tell by the noise, tell by the rumble. Back in Orange County, we're underway once again. The restart of the CarQuest Auto Parts 200. Bit of a problem there with a couple of cars coming together, 2 or 3. Looks like Tremont just avoided something out there.
That's Pepicelli in the red and white number 11 and Chris Schultz in the black number 24. They were 2 of the 3 or 4 cars that were involved. Pat Ward, if he got away without damage, that was remarkable because he was right in the middle of all that. May have been able to drive through it all without scathing the car, scratching the car, but Schultz's car will not refire. The Liberty rock crushing car comes to a stop, and you did see the other car pull away, but and there is Tremont back on pit road again.
Oh my, he spent a lot of the day there. Both these cars involved in this, by the way, were a lap down, so they're not on the lead lap and not a factor at the moment. But you never like to see anybody retire before the thing is all done. Everybody wants to finish. It doesn't matter how many laps or what position you're in. Nobody wants to have to park it early, especially when you break something.
That stat that we had on the board here just a few minutes ago showing Tremont 3rd and only, I don't know, I didn't do the math that quickly, but very, very close. He's back on pit road again. Now they're looking at the front of the left front of the car. Apparently there's a problem up there as well, so he's in danger of going down more laps, and that's could be, well, he's now rolling away, but whatever, I don't think they fixed whatever they were looking at, so maybe a problem there.
You will not want to miss the conclusion. We're still yellow, but there's lots more racing action left to come. Alan Johnson's your winner of the leader, I should say, of the CarQuest Auto Parts Eastern States 200 Modified Championship from Orange County Fair Speedway, Middletown, New York. It's all live for you on Rush Hour.
Rush Hour.
CarQuest 200.
A-Plus Mini Market, your 24-hour ticket to convenience.
Congratulations to Jim Cook of Rochester, New York. He took the ride of his life, and so did 4 of his friends. They won the dirt driving experience by registering at a participating A-Plus Mini Market.
Over 3,000 items. A-Plus Mini Market, 24-hour convenience, your store, plus more.
4 seconds of stress in the life of Kenny Bernstein. Kenny's well protected, but what about his engine?
This is a 6,000 horsepower engine. No way will we go down the quarter-mile without Prolong in the crankcase. You need to do it too. Put it in your family car. It's the best.
And now Prolong's on the dirt circuit.
If this product works in the environment that we race in on the dirt circuit, it'll work great in your family car.
Please call 888-241-0779 for the store nearest you.
The business world can be fast-paced and hard-hitting, where the people on your team can mean the difference between winning and losing. The Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce wants to be a part of your team, leading the fight for the healthy economy your business depends on.
Whether it's better schools, world-class institutions, or first-rate sports facilities for our Red Sox and Patriots, the Chamber is leading the way to make our region a better place to live and to work.
The Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce. It's where your business belongs.
With me right now is Antoine Walker. What do you look for to get the position? How do you get the position back?
Well, I want to try to get as low as I can as close to the basket as possible. So I try to establish great post position. I'm going to try to, take a couple of power dribbles and try to get even closer to the basket to where I can either go right or left and make either a jump hook or use the backboard for an easier shot.
Watch Fox Sports Net New England and play like the pros.
Nice to have you with us. We've just released the green flag with the Orange County Fair Speedway, Middletown, New York. CarQuest Auto Parts presenting the Eastern States 200 Mr. Dirt Championship for Big Block Modifieds. Eric Thomas, Gary Montgomery, Cowboy Paul Small. You're looking at Danny Johnson. His brother Alan is the leader right now. You're looking at positions 3, 4, and 5. The heavy hitters that you talked about top of the show. Gary Wade Montgomery have filtered their way to the top of the field.
Speaking of heavy hitters, I think there was a little hit there as Hearn got against the rear dirt bar of Steve Payne in his efforts to move around Payne and take over the number 4 spot. But we have yellow once again. Caution is on the speedway, and it was Kenny Tremont that brought it out. Tremont's car broke the axle. Oh, that's it. They won't be able to fix that one and get it back out. So that grab, oh dear.
They don't handle worth a darn as a tricycle, do they?
And that's a long, long stop there. They can't fix it. His day will be over. Their steering wheel's off and
throws it in disgust. This is not the way he wanted it to end. This is very, very important. He's climbing out of the 115. He led Danny Johnson by only 38 points for the lead in the Mr. Dirt Big Block Modified Points chase, and Kenny Tremont just frustrated as he climbs over the wall. Cowboy Paul Small, you're down there.
Certainly frustration on Kenny Tremont's part, and there may be some frustration for Danny Johnson before this one is all said and done. When they went back to green, guys, even though it was only for a couple of laps, notice on Danny's car, the back end is really wiggling. It's starting to slip up in the corners, and that's the wrong direction up the racetrack. You want to keep it tight to the inside as much as possible with the conditions being the way they are on this cool afternoon.
So we talked about the hard clay here at Orange County. It's hard on equipment, isn't it, Gary?
And it's a hard heartbreak.
Absolutely. Heartbreak and everything.
For Tremont. The Emmerich Associates S&S Paving Vein Concrete team has done just an outstanding job all year long, and have a problem here this weekend. So very, very important to Kenny and the entire team to have a good finish and a chance at that title. And they had it despite all those problems earlier until this one, which puts them out of the race. And there you see a shot of it. And the axle is broken, and that requires an hour or so to fix it.
Back down to Cowboy Paul Small.
You can see where the axle is bent right here, where the axle tube is, and some of the axle grease is coming out here. And also look at the bends in these rear radius rods to locate the rear axle. This top one's got like an S-bend in it, and the bottom one is bent and a little warped and out of shape as well. That's probably from the damage earlier that knocked around that locator that they had to pull off so they could put a fresh left rear on. I had suspicions that the axle was in trouble too, because they were having such a hard time getting the car to handle afterwards. That's what knocked them out, guys.
That was a graphic on the 4-link. That was the 2 and the 4. And you saw that situation there. But here we go.
Works best with 4 wheels, though.
Right. Gotta have 4 wheels.
Top 15. Let's set the field for you. 153 of 200. The leaderboard. Alan Johnson, Billy Decker, Danny Johnson is third. Payne and Brett Hearn, who had some earlier problems, as up into the top 5 here.
Running 6th is Andy McKetty. Mitch Gibbs holds on to 7. Tim Hiley having a great job in 8. Bob McCready, we talked about him earlier. He's now moved up to 9. Jack Johnson breaks the top 10 for the first time all day today.
We talk much about Jumpin' Jack, but he's on the move and moving his way up. Tim Fuller in 11th. Frank Posey is 12th. The 13th is Dale Plank in Homer, New York. 14th is Gary Tompkins, and Vic Coffey is 15th at the moment.
Coffey and the other Sweetener Plus car rounds out the top 15. We're 155 laps into this 200-lap contest, and it's still anybody's race. But the guy they're all chasing is A.J. Slideways, 41-year-old professional race car driver Alan Johnson, now residing in Phelps, New York, out of Rochester originally, graduated from high school out of Middlesex, New York, and he leads Billy Decker as we complete lap number 156.
He's 4 years older than Danny Johnson. There he is in the Sweeteners, number 27. So it's the Johnson family that's looking very good at the moment. There's Danny. That drama that we talked about, the emotion when he got together with Brett Hearn, hasn't really played itself out. Everybody's worried about the mechanical fitness of their cars. A report on Danny Johnson, and Cowboy Paul Small will give us that.
Danny Johnson's car has been loosening up on him a little bit. We just checked back in with Danny's crew. It's no worse than it was earlier, but I tell you what, we could have a change in things here. The sun has just come out over the Orange County Fair Speedway once again. That may be beneficial for both Brett Hearn and Danny Johnson, who were fighting a loose condition. Might loosen the racetrack up. This is the gamble they were taking earlier by setting the race cars up this way. They were probably hoping for sunlight. Traditionally, when you get into the last 50 laps of this race, anything can happen. Contenders could drop out. People can come out of nowhere and have fantastic finishes. We've seen it happen in the many years here before. It may very well happen again today. And we're just noticing on the racetrack, guys, Steve Payne, the front end of that car is starting to bounce up and down like a ping pong ball.
That thrilling finish, that's what they're setting up. I can feel it right now, because they're coming down here 159 to 200. The hitters are up front, but it looks like the spirit is willing, but the equipment appears a little wobbly right now.
Yeah, we're watching to see if we can pick up the wobble that Paul was talking about on Steve's car, and if there is a wobble there, I suspect that all goes back to that earlier incident as they tried to exit pit road and got caught up in the mud.
Steve Payne, car number 7X, the Hurricane, they call him, out of Waterloo, New York. Already has the Advance Auto Parts 358 Super Dirt Series Championship on his mantle. Wanted to come in here, had the heartbreak yesterday of just having the engine go away. We'll say it again because it's a huge story. He just failed to grab the Mr. Dirt title as well for 99 out here and competitive. But that's the guy, as you mentioned, Gary, they're trying to chase down. Alan Johnson out of Phelps, New York, who's got that Bicknell 2000X car humming like a fine Swiss watch. There's a look at Brett Hearn. He's recovered to pump inside the top 5. Oh, Steve Payne putting some heat now on Danny Johnson just outside your screen border there. But Hearn is still rumbling along here in the top 5. There's the two automobiles we're talking about. Payne in the 7X, Danny Johnson in the 27, and there's Brett Hearn in the Budweiser number 3. He's inside the top 5, Gary, and he's knocking at the door. It's a faint knock, but he's there.
Very faint, I would say, but not faint at all is the knocking on the door that Danny Johnson hears in the battle for 3 as Steve Payne is all over him. There are no rear view mirrors in these cars, so
That's right.
Don't know where their competitors are behind them, but they can hear them generally, and they can certainly feel them if there's contact, and you can rest assured that Danny knows that somebody's back there. Over the radio, they're probably telling him who it is, but nonetheless, that's the way they run. There's Danny in the number 3 spot.
There's that smoke we talked about.
Right.
Cowboy Paul Small, Gary, mentioned earlier in the race that the number 3 was smoking, and you just saw a wisp of it there as he let off the accelerator.
It's the first time I've seen it, but then Paul said that they told him that it was just a matter of the chassis rolling over on the tire. Now, that's just, but as you pointed out, if that just does it long enough and punctures the tire, it'll be just the end of the race for Hearn. But we'll see how it plays out. We're 164 laps into this contest, so there's a long way to go yet.
Hearn started 11th, as you saw in the graphic. Currently running in 5th place. Brett Hearn, the corporate jet.
Brett, a 4-time winner of this race, having won it in 96, 86.
And he's been second 4 times, too.
79. Okay, that's a stat I didn't have. But anyway, this is his 21st start in the event.
Won both the Big Block and 358 championships this year at Orange County. I believe his 14th career championships at this particular facility. He is easily the king of the hill at Orange County. Steve Payne is becoming a story again, and once again, Paul Small's got his finger on that one.
Apparently, the vibration on Steve Payne's car is only affecting him going down the straightaways. When the car gets the weight transfer going into the corners, it seems to be handling just fine. Steve's not reporting any problems other than just a little bit of a rough ride on the hands with the wobbling going down the straightaway.
Problem for Payne is that the straightaways are a lot longer than the corners. If he's got a wobble problem on the straightaways, he's got a lot of wobble. That'll wear out his hands.
Not only that, you can put blisters on those hands, even with gloves, if that steering wheel is moving around a whole lot. We've seen that happen before. So we'll keep our eyes on the Steve Payne 7X, because you're right. Maybe that mud or the contact is throwing something out of balance on that car. So the vibration is a handful on top of everything else. 168 of 200. Happy that you're with us here on Rush Hour. This is the big one.
Right on your back bumper now, following your tire charge.
And you're hearing the scanner with Danny Johnson and company.
And what they were telling him is right on your bumper, and they were right. Now there's a car length, or almost a car length separation, but up front, battle is heating up a little bit as well, as Decker runs about 3 car lengths, maybe 4, behind Alan Johnson, and they're about to get some light traffic again, and that'll slow things down and make things exciting here in a moment. Chuck McKee's car number 19 will be the first car to go another lap down, and they're telling him 0 lead. Well, that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but they don't want to let him know that he's got any breathing room. Keep his hammer down, and you can rest assured that Alan will do just that.
Alan is smooth. Alan is fast. He's led close to 70 laps of this contest and is out in front. We haven't talked a lot about Billy Decker, but talk about smooth and competitive. Decker, who won this race last year, is within gun shooting range and trying to make it 2 in a row. Some Alan Johnson news, Cowboy.
Watching Alan Johnson as it goes around the racetrack, he's about to come into some traffic, and I'm sure Alan really doesn't want to see any. Remember, that car was overheating a little bit and warming up under caution when he wasn't getting any clean air into the front end of the car. If he gets into traffic, some of the airflow to the radiator and the cooling of that car may be blocked by the cars in front of him. He's got to be careful. He doesn't want to get caught on the outside and give Billy Decker the inside lane, and he also doesn't want to be in traffic too long because he doesn't want to heat that race car up beyond an acceptable point.
Well, he just took care of some of that traffic as he moved around Chuck McKee with relative ease, and it'll be Chris Moore, and I'm sorry, it'll be Sorensen at 53, the next car in line. Then it's Chris Moore in front. So Alan's going to have some lap traffic here for the next several laps.
Decker
172 of 200 are complete. You better stay with us. This is the CarQuest Auto Parts Eastern States 200 Modified Championship from Orange County Fair Speedway in Middletown, New York. You come on back. It's all live on Rush Hour.
Rush Hour.
Alan Johnson, there he is in the Pillsbury #1 Bicknell chassis. Big block modified. Tim McCready is up near the wall. He is the leader, and there's McCready as we go by here. Eric Thomas, Gary Montgomery, Cowboy Paul Small. Eastern States Weekend, Orange County Fair Speedway, Middletown, New York. The CarQuest Auto Parts 200 getting down to the last couple of pages, but Tim McCready in trouble again, Gary.
Yeah, for the second time today. Now, I believe they told us he did not lose a lap earlier, but he will probably lose one here, and if he did not lose a lap, I had him running in the number 14 spot prior to this incident, and that has been confirmed. So he was running 14, but now he'll lose some very, very valuable time on the racetrack. And again, this will work to Alan Johnson's advantage in a couple of categories. Paul has talked about it a number of times about how the car needs the clean, fresh air to keep it cool. Right. The fact that he doesn't have to bother with lap traffic is probably a bigger factor, not just for cooling of the car, but getting around them without having Decker slide by him somehow or other. So that'll work well for Alan Johnson, and it's looking like it could be his day. First time ever if he wins it. 180 laps into this one. He's got 20 to go.
Steve Payne is the crew you're hearing on the scanners right now. On the in-car radios, they do allow them to have radio contact with crews and their spotters for the longer distance races. White flag up from the starter stand. They'll be ready to turn them loose yet again next time around. Alan Johnson looking very, very strong right now. Billy Decker out of Unadilla, New York, the Franklin Flyer, still has the nickname Danny Johnson up there in the top three. Into Alan's pit, look of concern on their crew, but the car appears to be humming along. The only irregularity is the fact that it seems to get a little bit on the hot side when it gets into traffic and under caution, but once the wind gets through the baffles and into the intake, into the radiator of that car, the temperature gauge, the water temperature gauge, comes down to comfortable levels. So that's the only thing that appears to be a wrinkle or a seed under the dentures in the plan of Alan Johnson, because so far that car is running like a watch. Here comes the roar, here come the RPMs, and Alan Johnson will lead him across the stripe as the pace car goes down on the pit road, and we're back underway again. 18 laps to go. We're getting down towards the bottom here, Gary Montgomery. Alan Johnson is running strong, and Decker has been right with him, matching him punch for punch the last 50 laps easily.
They seem to have paired up that way, and Danny Johnson running third. He doesn't appear to have anything for Decker, and obviously if he doesn't have it for Decker, he doesn't have it for his brother as well. Danny's had his own problems in the form of Steve Payne, who's been right there, and now this caution period has allowed Brett Hearn to close in on Payne. You can see that in your screen there, and Payne has not had any pressure from Hearn, I would say, for the last 50 or 60 laps, but now is Hearn's crew is telling him where they are in the race. It's time to fire it up if you've got anything left. We'll find out. Here we go with our top 15. We've got Alan Johnson, Billy Decker, Danny Johnson, Steve Payne, and another caution flag. Trouble on the speedway, and we're slowed once again on lap number 184.
Cozy, I believe it is.
And that is Jim Sorensen in car 53. Cozy in the was the other car involved. He got away.
Yeah.
And well, he's got away, but he has a flat tire, right front tire on Cozy's CarQuest car. Is slowed. He's a two-time winner of this, but he's going to have to make a pit stop with the Sonny Moody-owned CarQuest Troyer 4-link number 88.
Tough oil sponsor on the Frank Cozy automobile. He's been around a long, long time. A lot of fans here too. You see a lot of his T-shirts and jackets and paraphernalia. And as Gary mentioned, he has won this race. So the lights are still on top of the pace car. And there's Frank Cozy going in. The right front sneaker has gone down. Paul Small on pit road. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a flat left front Hoosier Racing tire for Frank Cozy. He pulls down and hits the marks. Kind of hard to get the jack up underneath. It's going to take, somebody had to lift the front bumper a little bit, get it just enough weight off the front end to get the jack underneath. Looks like they're going to be able to swap the right front tire on without too much of a problem down here as they get ready to put the lugs back on. Tank it up with gas here a little bit as well. Now, I'm standing next to Frank Cozy's pit and Alan Johnson's pit. Randy Kosaki is down here. Any more concerns with all these caution flags about the temperature on this race car?
Well, he hasn't said anything in the last 25 laps, so I don't know whether that's good or bad, but we got 14 laps to go here, and we're just trying to hang in there and keep our fingers crossed.
There's Randy Kosaki watching and hoping for Alan Johnson to get a victory with the Pillsbury Doughboy car this afternoon.
Well, Alan is not a big talker under any circumstances. I would say that we don't know what that means if he's not talking, if it's good or bad. But anyway, it's good as far as we can see from here as he leads them off again as we're green on 186.
14 laps to go. Don't you go anywhere. Alan Johnson, Billy Decker, Danny Johnson, Steve Payne, Brett Hearn, your top 5 at the moment, Gary.
McKinney and Gibbs started in the front row. They run 6 and 7. Hindley continues to run top in 8th in car number 8. Bob McCready and Jack Johnson, a pair of former winners here, 9 and 10. Tim Fuller, Dale Plank, Pat Ward, Vic Coffey, Gary Tompkins having a great day here. Got in late this morning in a consolation event. He runs in position number 15.
Looking okay in the top 15. You finish in the top 15 at this race at this track, and you can go home with your head held high. That's a hard afternoon's worth of labor. Coming down to an even dozen. It was a baker's dozen. Now we're going to give you an even 12. And Alan Johnson looking strong, looking smooth. Whoa, hang on. We've got Pat Ward going around here.
Flammer and Ward got together. Flammer has been on our screen how many times? Always facing the wrong way, it seems. And Pat Ward is very, very disappointed right now.
Genoa, New York veteran has got problems, and the two cars come together again. Maybe there's a little sign language going on in there. Who knows?
If I were Flammer, I'd get out of there.
I think so.
Want to mess with Pat Ward.
Woo. He's going to back out of the way, and the crew has arrived to remove Pat Ward's number 56. He's been around a long, long time.
Pat's a great competitor. He had a couple of wins this year. In fact, he had 3 wins this year, bringing his total to
Here the radio's on the 56. Pat Ward conversing with his crew. He will lose a lap here with this.
Yeah, and he said something was broken anyway. And
yeah.
Who he was talking to was his dad, Bud, who was a former racer as well. And Pat keep these cars going.
Here's a look at this again. What happened when we got Pat Ward all turned around? Let's see what goes on here.
Well, Jack Johnson opening up the inside lane. He got by Flammer, and there's the Darwin Burton car with Plank way up on top of the racetrack. You see, so Flammer's off the pace just a bit going into the corner.
Here's what happens. Pat Ward down on the inside.
Yeah, Pat tried to open up a door that wasn't there.
Yeah.
It wasn't open anyway.
Yeah, he tried to kick it down, and that resulted in another yellow. Look at it again from another angle. There's Ward down in the 56. They make contact, and they're going to skate up by themselves. A little synchro spinning here. Nice ballet. Not the kind you want to look at, though.
Vic Coffey had a good look at that ballet and was happy that he was not part of it as he slid by in his red yellow number 32C.
Billy Decker has been strong, hanging right inside the slipstream of Alan Johnson. And some information on Billy Decker from Cowboy Paul Small.
These caution flags are now what Billy Decker and his crew have wanted to see. Their car is a little bit better on a longer run. Seems like after 6 or 7 laps, the car starts to pick up and they can make a run at Allen. The problem is they haven't had that opportunity with the stop and go we've had in the late stages of this race.
They got a little more than 6 to go, so if they got anything for them, they're going to have to do it right now. 9 to go. Sorry for the interruption.
Not at all, not at all. Time is ticking away. We're running out of opportunities for anybody who wants to hold something for late in the race. Alan Johnson with 8 laps to go. Billy Decker, there he is, out of Unadilla, New York, the Bug Chaser, number 91, the Adam Ross car. Here's Alan. That's a brand new Bicknell 2000X chassis. Danny Johnson in the 27th. Running in 3rd at the moment, Steve Payne in the 7X, and Brett Hearn. There is your top 5 with 7 to go in the CarQuest Auto Parts Eastern States Weekend 200. Happy that you're with us here on Rush Hour. We're coming down to the final few pages, Gary.
Yeah, final few indeed. 7 to go. It'll be 6 as they exit turn 4 right there and come down to the starter stand where Kenny Marshall has been manning that facility all week long. We haven't talked about him, but he's the regular here at the Orange County Fair Speedway. Does a great job. Everybody now pretty much single file. In fact, I don't see anybody pulling out a line except Frank Cozy way in the back of the pack. He was involved in that altercation just a moment ago in that CarQuest Tough Oil number 88. But he's certainly not a factor for a top 10 run here today.
Half a dozen to go. Does Decker in the 91 have anything at all for Alan Johnson? Does Danny Johnson have anything for Decker? Does Payne have anything back there? We don't know. There's a almost equidistant between the top 5 car. Hearn is pedaling hard to stay inside the top 5 as well. 5 to go, Gary.
5 laps to go, and actually the only position that appears to be in debate right now is back in the number 9 spot where Bob McCready is, and Jack Johnson is all over him, and Fuller's right there as well. But up front, there's a 3-4 car length separation between leader Alan Johnson in the Pillsbury Doughboy car and last year's winner, Billy Decker, in the Randy Ross Buck Chaser number 91.
Get anything up his sleeve, he better unleash it right now. 3 to go. You can hear Alan Johnson and crew on the scanners in behind us. Johnson, Decker, Danny Johnson, Steve Payne, and Brett Hearn. That is your top 5 with only a trio to go at Orange County. Hang on for the finish here.
And there's the battle for 9. That's where McCready is, Bob McCready is, and Jack Johnson is all over him.
Top 15, Tim Fuller, Dale Plank, Vic Coffey, Gary Tompkins, and Bill Hoffman, who's won this race before. He's worked himself into the top 15 as we get down to the final couple of laps. Just 2. Rabbit ears are in the air. Some of the announcers call them popsicle sticks. Just to suffice to tell you.
And Bob McCready breaks. Bob McCready breaks here on the front straightaway. Now, he may be able to keep it going and will stay under green. They will make every effort to do that. And Bob McCready will try to clear the car, and it would appear that he will not do it.
Oh, no, he's on the top side, so the white flag comes out. We have to go yellow here for the last one. Yellow flag is out. We're going to have to slow it down with 1 lap to go. It'll be a 5/8 of a mile drag race. And hold on to your cuticles. We're going to chew them right down to the bottom. I told you not to go anywhere.
Yeah, you don't want to go.
No.
Unlike some other racing organizations that would complete a race under yellow, Dirt Motorsports won't do it. So the lap counter frozen at 199. It will be a 1-lap shootout. Flat tire on Steve Payne's car. He's on pit road. Running in position number 4. Payne has a flat tire, Bob McCready out of it, so 2 of our top 10 runners having a problem here in the late station.
Down to pit road, Cowboy Paul Small.
That's not just a flat right rear tire, guys. That is an incredibly shredded right rear tire. The Payne crew going to work, getting the back end jacked up. The gas is just an afterthought. They just want to make sure they have enough in the tank. The tire is that concern. Crew stumbling a little bit there as they try to get that right rear on for Steve. Tough break for him. He has really fought adversity after getting all that mud all over the race car, fighting vibrations all over the place, still running in the top 5. But this one, guys, is going to knock him out of a top 10 position, most likely.
May have shredded it as he went by Bob McCready's wounded number 9 on the front straight to shred that right front tire. Hard luck yesterday in the 358 championship, and more bad luck today for the Hurricane Steve Payne.
Well, today's problem wasn't nearly as severe as yesterday's.
Yeah.
They had a chance for the championship and then blew the engine. So this one is a blown tire. He wasn't in the hunt for the championship. Well, he's in the hunt, but not realistically, probably.
1 lap to go. Decker has been smooth, but he hasn't been as fast or as good as Alan Johnson. Does he have anything here at all inside of 1 lap to try and pull an incredible upset this afternoon, Gary?
I would say not. They told us, Randy Kosaki said that they needed longer runs. So obviously, 1 lap is not a longer run. There have been a number of restarts here in the past few laps. So if anybody had anything left for anybody, I think all the cards have been displayed. So unless Alan has a problem, I think that this could be his race. First ever, as we talked at the top of the show, and I didn't know then what we'd be talking about, 22 starts for Alan in this race, and this could be the first win.
Emotions we talked about at the top of the show. Passion we talked about. Furrowed brows. It's a go, go, go. Verbal signal for Alan Johnson. One more time around. 5/8 of a mile away for the first Eastern States Championship on the Mr. Dirt Trail for AJ Slideways. Alan Johnson, one of the winningest drivers in dirt history. In turn number 3. Coming around here, the fans anticipating the finish. Alan Johnson's got himself a pretty easy waltz down here. One to go. One more lap to go. For Alan Johnson, being chased down by Billy Decker, but there's a good distance between the first and second place and even third and fourth automobiles. Final lap for Alan Johnson. It's been a remarkable weekend. Lots of passion, lots of emotion. And the emotion is being peaked right now for the Pillsbury Doughboy. Johnson will come down to grab it, and he'll take the checkered flags. In the Eastern States weekend, the CarQuest Auto Parts 200 will go to Alan Johnson, the 2000 Canadian-built Bicknell chassis.
Canadian-built, yeah. Okay, so brother Danny does it yesterday, and Alan does it today. Great run for Alan Johnson and the
Beachy Motorsports, Pillsbury team, car number 1.
Fantastic domination. We're going to talk to our winners, give you some totals. You better stay with us. This is the CarQuest Auto Parts Eastern States 200 Modified Championship from Orange County Fair Speedway, Middletown, New York. It's live on Rush Hour.
Rush Hour. CarQuest 200. Just released Dirt Sportswear 2000 free catalog. Y2K. Call 1-800-979-DIRT. Sweats. Jackets. Hats. Dirt Sportswear 2000 free catalog. Call 1-800-979-DIRT.
It's a bird!
It's a plane!
It's Delman! Delman to the rescue! Last sale before wholesale. Through Monday at Sam Del Dodge Isuzu. Hundreds of vehicles up to 60% off original retail. Corsica, buy for $139 a month. Escort, buy for $179 a month. Taurus, buy for $239 a month. It's possibly the last time these vehicles will be offered for sale. Last sale before wholesale. Vehicles up to 60% off. Sam Del Dodge Isuzu.
Hey, motorsports fans, looking for a good time? It's right here on New England Dodge Dealers Drive Time. Drive Time's got what you want. Complete coverage of NASCAR, National Hot Rod Association, Superbikes, and more. For weekly rundowns and nailed